Chapter 7:25. Let's go! The two Peak Kings turned around and ran without thinking. It was too terrifying. If they didn't run, they would die. However, one of them suddenly turned into a bloody mist with a bang while running. The other one suddenly turned into two halves while running. 4 Peak Kings all dead. Now it's your turn. A powerful aura rose from Lu Ming's body and enveloped Shueisha. Shueisha's pupils shrank rapidly. The strength that Kenfei Ryu and Xian Yinqing displayed shocked him. You think you can kill me? No matter how strong a Peak King is, you're still a Peak King. I'll let you know how strong the Sea of Soul Realm is. A thick, bloody mist spread out from Shueisha's body. His eyes turned red, and at the same time his hands also turned red. Shueisha hand, die. Shueisha stepped forward and slapped at Lu Ming with a palm. Bloody qi filled the air, filled with a corrosive smell. Even the air emitted a terrifying crackling sound. Middle stage of the first level of the Sea of Soul Realm. Just nice to test the power of the suppressing Hell Heaven skill. Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. The battle dragon True Yuan roared violently, and Lu Ming's palm was like a heavenly blade as he slashed out. This palm seemed to condense a heavenly steel, suppressing everything. Pum! Lu Ming's palm and Shueisha's palm clashed together, emitting a dull sound. In the next moment, everyone saw a figure frantically retreat, spurting blood from his mouth. This person was Shueisha. At this moment, one of Shueisha's palms had already turned into mush. His eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? Shueisha roared in shock. Lu Ming's palm just now made him feel like an ancient divine mountain had crashed into his body. His internal organs were all injured, and his entire body felt like it was about to crack. Sea of Soul Realm? I've already seen it. Go on your way. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. His body was like a flowing light as he instantly appeared in front of Shueisha and slapped down again. Boom! This time, Shueisha retreated a few thousand meters. His arms exploded and turned into ashes. Not only that, there was a huge hole in his chest. His entire body was twisted and deformed. If not for his high cultivation and strong physical body, he would have been dead by now. At this moment, he screamed in horror, "Spare me! Don't kill me!" What welcomed him was a spear light. The resplendent spear light pierced through the void and pierced through Shueisha's heart. Shueisha dead. Everyone present was so shocked that they stood there in a daze. 3 moves. With just 3 moves, he had killed a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Was he still a Peak King? It was truly terrifying. Luo Xian, Luo Ming, and the others were also shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased since the time he was in Jinsha Island. We're both Peak Kings, but the difference between us is too great. Chen Dao shook his head and smiled bitterly. The suppressing Hell Heaven skill is indeed worthy of being a demigod bloodline martial skill. Its power is truly formidable, but the consumption of True Yuan is truly astonishing. Lu Ming faintly smiled as he devoured Shueisha's storage ring and essence blood. Next, I'll leave these people to you. Little Qing, Brother Jian, let's go. The first sentence was said to the Flame Merchant Association. Later, it was said to Xian Yinqing and Kenfei Ryu. The strongest people had already been killed. The remaining people of the Blood Evil Pirates would be left to the Flame Merchant Association. After all, the Flame Merchant Association still had 4 Peak Kings. They would definitely take this opportunity to exterminate the Blood Evil Pirates. Lu Ming and the other 2 soared into the sky. Indeed, shocking battle cries resounded behind them. Lu Ming, Luo Xen muttered as she looked into the distance. Then, she sighed lightly and joined the battle. The 3 sat cross-legged on the huge snake puppet and continued on their way. Brother Lu, your current combat strength is getting stronger and stronger. I reckon that I'm no longer your opponent. Kenfei Ryu smiled bitterly. Brother Jian is too humble. Lu Ming smiled faintly. I'm not being humble. I'm telling the truth, Kenfei Ryu said. Then he looked at Xie Nianqing. Although Xie Nianqing did not reveal much, he still gave off an unfathomable feeling. He reckoned that if they really fought, he would not be Xie Nianqing's opponent. The most shocking thing was that Xie Nianqing and Lu Ming's essence of heaven and earth were still at the first level. If their essence of heaven and earth broke through to the second level, how terrifying would that be? If their essence of heaven and earth broke through to the second level, they would be able to compete with those freaks on the Heavenly King list. Kenfei Ryu's heart skipped a beat. Although he was ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents, there are many peak-level kings who were stronger than him in battle strength. This was because the list of top 1,000 talents only ranked geniuses under the age of 30, while the Heavenly King list did not have an age restriction. Almost all of the top 600 on the list of top 1,000 talents were above the sea spirit realm. Only the 10 Heavenly Kings of the previous list of top 1,000 talents ranked in the top 600 because they were in the king realm. Therefore, there were nearly 200 geniuses who were stronger than him on the list of top 1,000 talents alone, and there were also many powerful older kings. Therefore, there were still many peak kings who were stronger than him. After all, the eastern wilderness was too big, and there were too many peak kings. My earth essence must be improved to the complete level 1 as soon as possible. Otherwise, I won't be able to exert much power. Lu Ming thought to himself. The earth essence was still far from the other 3 essences. Once the earth essence was similar to the other 3 essences, the power of the 4 essences would be terrifying, and Lu Ming's combat strength would increase by another level. The giant snake puppet was very fast. After another 3 days, they arrived at the Golden Light domain, twice as fast as they had expected. After arriving at the Golden Light domain, they continued to fly. After another 3 days, they arrived at the Golden Sword sect. The Golden Sword sect was too majestic. It was more majestic and powerful than any other sect that Lu Ming had seen before. The Golden Sword sect was the top sect in the Golden Light domain. Although it was a subsidiary sect of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace, the Golden Sword sect's authority in the Golden Light domain was as great as the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace. Moreover, the Golden Sword sect also had an interdomain transfer formation that could teleport them to other domains. They were going to take the interdomain transfer formation of the Golden Sword sect to the heavenly domain. Jian Filiu had a very high status in the Golden Sword sect. He was the number 1 genius of the Golden Sword sect. After returning, Lu Ming and Xie Nianqing naturally received a grand reception. Brother Lu, Miss Xie, we might have to stay at the Golden Sword sect for 2 days. This time, the Golden Sword sect will send a group of peak kings to compete for the heavenly domain list, Kenfei Ryu said as he led Lu Ming and Xie Nianqing to an elegant courtyard. It's fine. Lu Ming smiled and said, could it be that all the peak kings in the eastern wilderness will be gathered this time? Gathering all the peak kings is naturally a bit exaggerated. However, most of the peak kings with profound strength will participate. Of course, this refers to humans. The Sky Demon Valley's demon race will not participate. Also, the Talisman Puppet sect will not participate. Kenfei Ryu said, why won't the Talisman Puppet sect participate? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He was somewhat curious. Because the heavenly domain list only focuses on the martial Dao. Inscription Dao will not gain any benefits. Kenfei Ryu explained. Lu Ming nodded. He had a rough idea. Chapter 7:26. 2 days later, the Golden Sword sect sent 29 peak kings to the Heavenly King domain. Including Kenfei Ryu, there were 30 of them. Among them, some are very old and some were in their 30s. The oldest were 2 peak kings who were close to 1,000 years old. Seeing that their lifespans were about to reach the end, they wanted to try their luck. If they were lucky, they might be able to break through to the spiritual sea realm and increase their lifespan by 1,000 years, including Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. There were 32 people in total. They stepped onto the teleportation array and headed to the Heavenly King Domain. The Heavenly King Domain was a very special place in the eastern wilderness. The Heavenly King Domain was very small, only 1/10 the size of the Tianqian Domain. It was the smallest domain in the eastern wilderness and lacked resources. There were almost no powerful factions here. Moreover, it was located at the border between the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect. Hence, it was a lawless area. Neither of the two overlords occupied it. However, that didn't stop him from being famous in the eastern wilderness. He was the Heavenly King Steel. The two Heavenly King Steels were located in the Heavenly King Domain. Every 3 years, the Heavenly King Steel would open, and the Heavenly King ranking would be held there. Countless peak kings would gather here. Around the Heavenly King Steel, there were dozens of large cities built within a few hundred miles. These large cities were usually empty, but when the Heavenly King Steel opened, they would be filled with people. So many people. Looking at the city in front of him where people were flying to and fro, Lu Ming was somewhat shocked. Every single one of these people was a peak king. Apart from the Sky Demon Valley and the Talisman Puppet sect, all the peak kings in the eastern wilderness have come. This time, there will be at least hundreds of thousands of peak kings. Kenfei Ryu said. Lu Ming sighed. Then, the group flew toward a large city. After flying into the city, they landed on a street and looked for an inn to stay in. It was full. They looked for 2 more inns, but they were all full. They only found an empty room in the 3rd one. Brother Lu, let's go out and find a place to drink. After arranging the rooms, Kenfei Ryu found Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Together with Xian Yanqing, the 3 of them walked outside. In the Golden Sword Sect team, only the 3 of them were young people. The youngest of the others was over 30 years old. They had no common topics to talk about, so the 3 of them were closer. This small city was quite spacious. However, the streets were still bustling with people. There were fewer young people, and more of them were older. Each of them had a strong and powerful aura, and it was obvious that they were experts. The 3 of them strolled around for a while, and then walked into a restaurant. They ordered some dishes and wine, and as they ate, they listened to the conversations of the people around them to see if they could get some information. These 2 days have been so lively. There are so many experts. With so many people fighting for the final 108 spots, the competition will be extremely intense. It's going to be even more intense this year. In the past, the top 10 spots were usually taken by the young geniuses, while the rest of the spots were split equally between the young and the old. However, this year is different. There are many terrifying young geniuses who are extremely powerful. That's right. Everyone knows this. Even the Tianji Chamber of Commerce didn't rearrange the list of top 1,000 talents. Otherwise, the list would have changed long ago. That's right. If the list of top 1,000 talents was rearranged, those at the bottom of the list, such as Gao Chang, Qin Qingshan, Sheng Xingchen, and the others, would have been kicked out of the list. Many people were drinking and chatting around them. Bam! Suddenly, a young man slammed his hand on the table. He glanced at another table and said coldly, "You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. What do you know about geniuses?" This young man was tall and burly with strong muscles and a powerful aura. One could tell at a glance that he was an expert. At another table sat 3 men in gray robes. They were the ones who had said that the last few spots on the list of top 1,000 talents would be kicked out. What? Did I say something wrong? One of the young men sneered. You're not on the list of top 1,000 talents. How do you know how powerful the geniuses on the list are? The burly young man sneered. Oh, so you're a genius on the list of top 1,000 talents? The young man in gray robes smiled faintly. I'm Gao Chang, the burly young man said proudly. As soon as he said this, The other people in the restaurant were moved. Gao Chong was ranked last on the list of top 1,000 talents. But no matter what his rank was, he was still a genius on the list of top 1,000 talents. His strength and talent were absolutely amazing. Oh, I was wondering who you were. So you're Gao Chong, ranked last on the list of top 1,000 talents. Hee, a beauty like you should have been kicked out long ago. The young man in gray robes was not surprised at all. Instead, he sneered. That means you're very strong. I'd like to see how strong you are. Gao Chong stood up. His eyes were cold and his aura was violent like a fierce beast. You want to fight? Fine. Today, I'll let you know how useless you are. The young man in gray robes sneered and stood up as well, exuding a cold aura. Let's go out and fight. With that, Gao Chong rushed out of the restaurant and flew up into the sky. Senior brothers, let's continue drinking when I come back. The young man in gray robes laughed and rushed out of the restaurant and flew up into the sky. The others in the restaurant also flew out to watch the fight with great interest. After all, one of them was on the list of top 1,000 talents. Even if he was ranked last, his combat strength was definitely not weak. Who was the young man in gray robes? He was so confident that he did not seem to take Gao Chong seriously. The other people in the surroundings also gathered around. That's Gao Chong. Someone recognized Gao Chong. In an instant, a large number of people gathered in all directions. Let's see what you're capable of. How dare you speak so arrogantly? Gao Chong's aura was getting more and more terrifying. He was like an Archean fierce beast, choosing its prey. Boom! Boom! He took a step forward, causing the space to rumble and terrifying energy to run rampant. Beast Frenzy Fist. Gao Chong punched out. The roar of a beast was heard, and heaven and earth trembled. Child's play. The young man in gray robe sneered. Layers of black mist spread out from his body. The black mist kept twisting and distorting, and shrill ghost cries could be heard. The young man in gray robes clawed out. A black river appeared in the void, and a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared in it. Bam! Gao Chong's fist and the young man in gray robes' claw collided. Suddenly, a terrifying force ran rampant. Gao Chong's expression changed drastically. He stepped into the void and retreated continuously. The crowd was shocked. Gao Chong, a genius on the list of top 1,000 talents, was at a disadvantage in one move. How could this be? Chapter 7:27. What's the use of activating your bloodline? Underworld Claw. The gray-robed youth struck out with his claw again, and a terrifying river wrapped around his arm. Ghostly wails and wolf howls filled the air. Gao Chong roared and rushed forward. His energy was rampant, and the terrifying fist light caused the void to tremble. Bam! Bam! There was a roar, but after a few moves, Gao Chong was forced to retreat. His body was covered in a layer of black mist, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Gao Chong had been defeated. He was no match for the gray-robed youth, but the gray-robed youth seemed relaxed. Obviously, the gap between them was too big. Who are you? Gao Chong roared unwillingly. Gui Jiao, from the Heavenly Corpse sect. The gray-robed youth replied indifferently. He's a genius from the Heavenly Corpse sect, Gui Jiao. I've never heard of him. He must be a rising genius. Sure enough, there are more and more geniuses nowadays. Many people sighed. So this is your strength. How disappointing. Someone like you should have been removed from the list of top 1,000 talents long ago. Gui Jiao sneered, then stepped out and returned to the restaurant. He's actually a genius from the Heavenly Corpse sect. The cultivation method of the Heavenly Corpse sect is extremely strange. Ordinary people can't resist it. Lu Ming said. When he was in the Tianqian domain, he had encountered the Heavenly Corpse sect. They were all using refined corpses to fight, so their combat strength was not strong. Later, when he met Shui Gang in the chaotic astral sea, He realized that the Heavenly Corpse sect did not necessarily rely on refined corpses. There were also some who did not rely on refined corpses, but their cultivation method and comprehension of essence were extremely strange and powerful. It was not without reason that the Heavenly Corpse sect could rise in such a short time and contend with Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. This sentence was heard by Gao Chong. His gaze turned cold. He took a step forward and walked toward Lu Ming. "Lad, what did you say? Ordinary people can't resist it? That means you're not an ordinary person. I'd like to see it for myself." Gao Chong had just been defeated by Guizhou, so he felt like he had lost face and was in a bad mood. Then he happened to hear Lu Ming say that the Heavenly Corpse sect's cultivation method wasn't something ordinary people could resist. Did that mean that he, Gao Chong, was no ordinary person? As a genius on the list of top 1,000 talents, he had always been proud and arrogant. But today he had been easily defeated by Guizhou and then called an ordinary person by a kid who had appeared out of nowhere. He could not control his anger. He wanted to regain some face from Lu Ming. Lu Ming was speechless. He had only given an objective evaluation, and now he was being targeted. "Brother Gao, I'm not talking about you. Many people do have headaches when they encounter the Heavenly Corpse sect's bizarre techniques," Lu Ming explained. "Shut up. Who do you think you are to call me brother? Also, do you mean that many geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents are no match for Guizhou, but you can?" Gao Chong berated and asked Lu Ming in return. Lu Ming frowned. Was Gao Chong out of his mind? "Gao Chong, I advise you to get lost. Don't be so shameless," Jian Filiu shouted coldly from the side, his expression unsightly. Their argument aroused the curiosity of others, who all looked over. Who are these young people? It seems that Gao Chong wants to regain some face from them. "Don't kick an iron plate again." Someone sneered. "How can it be so easy? Gao Chong is still very strong. How can he be so unlucky to kick an iron plate so easily?" The people at the side were discussing and watching with great interest. Gao Chong's face turned even colder after being berated by Kenfei Ryu. His eyes were like a fierce beast as he looked at Kenfei Ryu and said, "Boy, I'm going to break one of your arms today because of what you said." Boom! Gao Chong's aura was violent as he threw a punch at Kenfei Ryu. Kenfei Ryu's eyes turned cold. His eyes emitted a golden light as he pointed his finger at Gao Chong. A golden sword light flashed as if it could cut through everything. Gao Chong's fist light was cut in half like tofu. The sword light did not stop and continued to slash at Gao Chong's arm. Gao Chong was shocked and retreated frantically. At the same time, he activated his bloodline and his body swelled rapidly. His aura became stronger. Slash! Jian Filiu's eyes had turned golden, and his body emitted a sharp aura like a peerless sword. Swoosh! The golden light of the sword surged and cut through the void in an instant. Then a shrill scream was heard. Everyone saw Gao Chong frantically retreat, and one of his arms was gone. Gao Chong said that he wanted to break one of Kenfei Ryu's arms. Now, Kenfei Ryu cut off Gao Chong's arm with a sword. Crushing. It was a complete crushing. "Who are you?" Gao Chong roared frantically. He channeled his genuine core energy to seal the wound so that it would stop bleeding. His eyes were red. It was too tragic. With one of his arms cut off, his vitality was greatly damaged. He was doomed to lose to the other geniuses. He was angry and unwilling to accept this. "Kenfei Ryu." Kenfei Ryu announced his name. "Kenfei Ryu. So it's Kenfei Ryu." Kenfei Ryu is ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents. He's hundreds of ranks higher than Gao Chong. The gap is too big. No wonder it's so one-sided. Gao Chong is so unlucky to have met Kenfei Ryu. First, he met the genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect, and now he's met Kenfei Ryu. He's too arrogant. He thinks he's in his palm-sized territory. What is this place? Now that so many experts have gathered in the heavenly monarch domain, isn't he courting death? That's right. Who are those two young men? Since they're standing next to Kenfei Ryu, they must be powerful. Are they also top geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents? Even if they're not on the list of top 1,000 talents, they're still very powerful. There was a lot of discussion around them. Kenfei Ryu, fine. I admit defeat. Gao Chang bellowed furiously, like an injured wild beast. He looked toward Lu Ming with murderous intent. It was all his fault. If not for Lu Ming's words, he would not have gone to Lu Ming and offended Kenfei Ryu. It was all Lu Ming's fault. If not for Kenfei Ryu, he would have killed Lu Ming right then and there. Lu Ming. At this moment, there was a long whistle and several streams of light flew over. The light dissipated and several figures appeared. Qin Qingfei? Qin Qingshan? Lu Ming was stunned. He did not expect to see Qin Qingfei and Qin Qingshan here. Behind them was an old man. Lu Ming, I didn't expect to see you here. Haha, it's time to settle our scores. Qin Qingfei sneered. His aura was strong. Obviously, after this period of time, Qin Qingfei's cultivation had broken through to the peak realm. With trash like you? Lu Ming glanced at him and said disdainfully, What did you say? Don't think you can be arrogant just because you have some strength. Let me tell you, there are many people who can suppress you. Let's see who can save you today. Qin Qingfei sneered. Is that so? Well, I'll settle the score with you for that day. Chapter 7:28. Lu Ming could still clearly remember how Qin Qingfei and Qin Qingshan had targeted him in Hong Domain. If Yan Kuangtu had not appeared, he might not have been able to return to Tianqian Domain in time for Mulin's and Sheng Xingchen's wedding. Actually, since this matter had passed, he would let it pass. Lu Ming did not have the time to specially go to Hongyu to find trouble with Qin Qingfei and the rest. However, the two of them had taken the initiative to jump in front of Lu Ming and make a fuss. Lu Ming naturally had to settle the score. Seeing Lu Ming step forward, Qin Qingfei's expression changed, and he could not help but take a step back. Back then, Lu Ming could compete with Qin Qingshan, but he was no match for him. Lu Ming, your opponent is me. Qin Qingshan took a step forward, and his aura exploded as he stood opposite Lu Ming. Lu Ming, we were unable to determine the winner in our previous battle. Today, let's see who's stronger. Qin Qingshan's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. What a lively day! The surrounding people watched excitedly. At this time, someone had recognized Qin Qingshan, which naturally made the surrounding people excited. Today, first, there was Gao Chang, who was at the bottom of the list of top 1,000 talents. Then there was Kenfei Ryu. Now, there was another genius on the list of top 1,000 talents, Qin Qingshan. Qin Qingshan was ranked one place higher than Gao Chang. Hee, looks like I don't have to do anything. I'd like to see how strong this kid is to dare to speak so arrogantly. Gao Chang sneered in his heart. Come on, use all your strength. I'll give you 2 chances to make 2 moves. Lu Ming said flatly. It was obvious that Lu Ming would only give him 2 chances to make 2 moves. After that, he would not have the chance to attack. Confidence and arrogance. Shameless boasting. Qin Qingshan shouted coldly as his aura burst out violently. This aura was extremely cold, as if it could freeze everything. Ice crystals appeared in the air, and even the air was frozen. Qin Qingshan's body became transparent. Even his hair became snow white. Qin Qingshan seemed to have turned into an ice man, his aura growing stronger and stronger. This was Qin Qingshan's bloodline secret technique. Facing Lu Ming, he did not dare to be careless. The moment he attacked, he used his ultimate skill. Slash! Qin Qingshan shouted loudly and slashed out a mighty blade light. The blade light broke through the sky and was incomparably cold. It slashed towards Lu Ming's head. His aura was much stronger than Gao Chang's. Many people narrowed their eyes. Qin Qingshan's battle prowess was extremely strong. In these few years, he had made great progress. It was likely that with his current battle prowess, he was no longer just ranked 999th. Boom! Lu Ming stood motionless in the air. Just as the saber light was about to fall, Lu Ming punched out. A dazzling fist radiance pierced through the void and collided with the saber radiance. With a loud boom, the saber radiance shattered. Not bad. You've improved a little compared to before. But is that all? The difference is too great. Lu Ming said indifferently. His tone was calm, as though he had done something insignificant. Qin Qingshan's eyes narrowed rapidly. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes. Lu Ming had actually broken his attack so easily. How could he be so strong? Take another move from me. Qin Qingshan roared. His eyeballs turned snow-white. His true core strength exploded wildly. Around his body, the cold air kept shrinking. Swoosh! Qin Qingshan and his saber became one and turned into an ice-cold saber. In the world, it was as though there was only a ray of blade light left. So strong! Retreat quickly. The surrounding people retreated quickly to avoid being injured by the wanton ice-cold blade light. However, Lu Ming still stood calmly in the air. When the blade light neared, he still only punched out. The blade light was shattered by the fist radiance. Qin Qingshan retreated in disbelief. Qin Qingshan, although you are much stronger than Gao Chang, you are still far from him. A faint voice came from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, a vast spear radiance exploded from Lu Ming's hand and smashed towards Qin Qingshan. This spear radiance was unstoppable and completely locked onto Qin Qingshan. Boom! Qin Qingshan felt as though he had been hit by a divine mountain. He was blasted to the ground and smashed into the street below, creating a large crater. If not for the timely protection of the experts below, half of the city would have been razed to the ground. Qin Qingshan had been defeated. He had been defeated so thoroughly and so easily. Before he made his move, Lu Ming had told him to do his best and that he only had 2 chances. Previously, some people had thought that Lu Ming was too arrogant. However, the truth had proven that Lu Ming was speaking the truth. Once he made his move, Qin Qingshan really did not have a chance to retaliate. Many people around were guessing who Lu Ming was. He was so powerful that Qin Qingshan, who was on the list of top 1,000 talents, could not even fight back. There are too many rising geniuses now. Geniuses after the 900th place in the previous list of top 1,000 talents are in danger. There is a high chance that they will be kicked out of the list of top 1,000 talents, especially the last few. It's almost certain that they will be kicked out of the list of top 1,000 talents. Not to mention those after the 900th place. Even those after the 800th place may be kicked out if they do not improve quickly. Many people around were discussing in shock. Gao Chang stared at Lu Ming with his mouth agape, his face drained of blood. Just now, he had wanted to teach Lu Ming a lesson. Given his strength, teaching Lu Ming a lesson would be suicide. Thinking of this, his heart trembled. Freaks, they are all freaks. Gao Chang roared helplessly in his heart. He was too unlucky today. Usually, he was invincible among the younger generation in his domain, which made him extremely confident. He even took it to heart that he was ranked last on the list of top 1,000 talents. He thought that with his talent, he could at least be ranked in the top hundreds. But today, reality had given him a heavy blow. Not to mention the list of top 1,000 talents. Any random young man would be stronger than him. At this moment, he was extremely dejected. Qin Qingfei, who was standing to the side, was also dumbfounded. In his heart, his elder brother had always been powerful and invincible. However, in Lu Ming's hands, he was as weak as a baby. How could this be possible? 7 or 8 months ago, Lu Ming was still suppressed by his elder brother. How could he be so strong now? Swoosh! Suddenly, a figure moved and appeared in front of him. It was Lu Ming. Ah, what do you want? Qin Qingshan screamed in fear. It's simple. I'll take one of your arms, and we'll be even. Lu Ming said lightly. No. Qin Qingfei screamed and retreated quickly. Don't hurt young Master Qingfei. The elder behind Qin Qingfei roared. His genuine core strength surged out violently, and a terrifying attack poured down on Lu Ming like a storm. This elder was also a peak king, but his combat strength was extremely strong. He was definitely an old man who had cultivated for more than 500 years and had come to participate in the Heavenly King List battle. Get lost! Lu Ming did not even look at him. He kicked out with the power of the 9 dragons, sky-stomping steps, and instantly defeated all of the elder's attacks. The elder screamed and flew far away, coughing up blood. The crowd was even more shocked. Lu Ming was too strong. The elder's combat strength was definitely not weaker than Qin Qingshan's. But in front of Lu Ming, he was as helpless as a chicken. The difference was too great. Slash! Chapter 729. Qin Qingfei let out a hysterical shriek. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted coldly. Instantly, Qin Qingfei didn't dare to cry out anymore. He endured the pain and left with Qin Qingshan dejectedly. He had come aggressively and left in a sorry state. Lu Ming was extremely calm as he looked at the shocked gazes around him. Defeating Qin Qingshan was not a big deal at all. In his heart, he had long stopped seeing Qin Qingshan as an opponent. In his heart, his opponents were the kings ranked at the top of the list of top 1,000 talents, and even the 10 kings who had made it into the top 600 with the help of the King Realm. They were as famous as the sea of Soul Realm geniuses. Those were his true opponents. He turned around and strolled back. Brother Jian, let's go in and continue drinking. Lu Ming said, but Kenfei Ryu did not respond. He was slightly stunned and looked at Kenfei Ryu. Jian Filiu was staring blankly in a certain direction, his eyes lifeless. Lu Ming followed Kenfei Ryu's gaze and saw a few figures. One was a tall young man in a red-scaled battle robe. The other was a young woman with a graceful figure and extremely beautiful features. Behind the two of them were 2 other old men. Kenfei Ryu's gaze was always on the woman. The woman lowered her head as if she did not dare to look up. Clap, clap. The young man in the scaled battle robe clapped his hands and strolled toward Lu Ming and the others. He smiled and said, I didn't expect to meet such experts here. Not bad, not bad. Isn't this Brother Jian? Wang Mang. Kenfei Ryu looked at the young man and said in a low voice, Haha, Kenfei Ryu, what's wrong? Are you here to participate in the Heavenly King List battle? With your cultivation, you might die here. Wang Mang's lips curled into a mocking smile. It's none of your business whether I live or die. Brother Lu, let's go. Kenfei Ryu said and turned to leave. Haha, Kenfei Ryu, aren't you going to greet your junior sister? Wang Mang laughed uproariously. His muscular arms wrapped around the beautiful woman beside him. That woman trembled, but she didn't dare to resist. Jian Filiu's body trembled slightly as he clenched his fists. Haha, Jian Filiu, back then I said that as long as I took a fancy to your junior sister, she would be mine. Now, didn't she still become my wife? Speaking of which, your junior sister's figure and skin are really comfortable to touch. Wang Mang laughed heartily. His large hand began to knead the woman's chest without the slightest bit of restraint. The woman's body trembled, but she did not make a sound. Haha, Jian Filiu clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were red, and his teeth were clenched. What? If you want to hit me, then why aren't you making a move? Wang Mang coldly shouted. Kenfei Ryu's breathing became heavy. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's eyes turned cold, and a powerful aura emanated from their bodies. Brother Lu, Miss Xie, let's go. Kenfei Ryu said. His voice was hoarse and seemed to be filled with endless anger. Lu Ming frowned. He felt that this matter was very complicated. He did not understand the situation, and it was inconvenient for him to make a move. Jian Filiu glanced at the woman again, then turned around and left with large strides. "Let's go." Lu Ming said to Xian Yinqing and turned to leave. "What a piece of trash." Wang Mang's disdainful voice came from behind. The three of them did not return to the restaurant. Instead, they returned to the inn. On the way, Kenfei Ryu did not make a sound. His eyes were red and his fists were clenched. After returning to the inn, Kenfei Ryu spoke. "Brother Lu, Miss Xia, are you curious why I didn't make a move just now?" Kenfei Ryu said, "Wang Mang? I remember that he's ranked 700th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Could it be him?" Lu Ming said. Kenfei Ryu nodded and said, "It's him. But I didn't make a move not because he's ranked higher than me, but because he's a direct descendant of an ancient family, the Wang family." "The Wang family?" "The Wang family, one of the 6 ancient aristocratic families?" Lu Ming frowned. "That's right." Jian Filiu nodded, then sighed and said, "The 6 ancient families are too powerful. I'm not afraid, but I have to think for the Golden Sword sect. Moreover, I have to think for my junior sister. Are the 6 ancient families really that powerful?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course. Lu Ming, I think you should learn more. Don't you know some common sense?" Xie Nianqing rolled her eyes at Lu Ming. Lu Ming touched his nose awkwardly. "Miss Xie is right. The 6 great ancient clans are terrifyingly strong. Back then, when Emperor Di founded the Empyrean Divine Palace, there were 9 great ancient clans. They followed Emperor Di to conquer the world. These 9 great ancient clans are called the 9 great ancient clans. Each of the ancient clans had incredible natural talents. After that, Emperor Di gave them a godly level skill as their ultimate skill. After that, the 9 ancient clans became even more powerful. As time passed, 3 of the 9 ancient clans disappeared. Now only 6 of them are left. These 6 ancient families can be said to be the strongest forces of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. All of them are located in the 9 Dragons city of the Tianwu region. Their strength isn't something that the branch palaces of the major regions can compare to. Kenfei Ryu explained. They have divine-level cultivation skills. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. That's right. It's said that the god-level techniques of the ancient aristocratic families complement their bloodlines, and their power is extremely terrifying. For example, our Golden Sword sect can be said to be very powerful in the Golden Light region. We can cover the sky with one hand and have experts at the peak of the spirit embryo realm. However, we're still far inferior to the ancient aristocratic families. Every ancient aristocratic family has many powerful existences at the spiritual god realm. Kenfei Ryu sighed. Lu Ming nodded. That was indeed the case. Such an ancient family could annihilate the Golden Sword sect as long as they sent out a spiritual god. "What's the matter with that woman?" Lu Ming asked curiously. Kenfei Ryu didn't answer. He seemed to be deep in thought. "If Brother Jian can't answer, then forget it," Lu Ming said. "Sigh. It's nothing much. That girl was originally my junior sister, and we were childhood sweethearts. Once we went out to train and we met Wang Mang. That Wang Mang took a fancy to my junior sister at first glance, and then he sent people from the Wang clan to the Golden Sword sect to propose marriage. The Wang clan is a colossus, so the elders of the Golden Sword sect were naturally willing. What's laughable is that my junior sister was also willing. Ha ha, ha ha." Kenfei Ryu laughed at himself after he finished speaking. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's eyes flickered, but they didn't say anything else. Kenfei Ryu said it simply, but the two of them could roughly guess. Lu Ming couldn't help but think of Lu Yao. Wasn't Lu Yao the same back then? He abandoned him in order to climb up to a stronger force. This kind of thing didn't just happen to Lu Ming. It happened everywhere in the martial Tao world where the strong preyed on the weak. There's no need to be too afraid. When the War of Providence comes, there are rules everywhere. The older generation isn't allowed to interfere in the battles of the younger generation. Even if Wang Mang is killed, the elders of the Wang clan can't interfere. Chapter 730. That's right. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Brother Jian, you have to let it go. Lu Ming patted Kenfei Ryue's shoulder and did not say anything else. It was hard for outsiders to help with this kind of thing. They had to face it themselves. Then they went back to their rooms. There were still 20 days before the Heavenly King list battle officially began. Lu Ming wanted to increase his strength as soon as possible in these 20 days. The 6 ancient families cultivated deity-level cultivation techniques. The geniuses among them would definitely be powerful. Lu Ming also cultivated deity-level cultivation technique, the true dragon battle technique. He knew how powerful it was. The true dragon battle technique could increase one's true origin by 10 times. It had always been the foundation of Lu Ming's strength. In that case, if it was also a divine-level cultivation technique, it would definitely be terrifying to the extreme. The Heavenly King list battle would definitely be fierce. Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and sat cross-legged in front of the Tree of Enlightenment. He took out a profound earth crystal and started cultivating. Supreme Nanyang had chatted with Liao Tsang for a while before returning to the Temple of Paragon and falling into a deep sleep. Crack! Lu Ming crushed the profound earth crystal. Strands of intent realm filled his body. This profound earth crystal was a medium profound earth crystal. In the blink of an eye, more than a day had passed. Lu Ming had raised his earth intent realm to the peak of first minor success. He was one step away from greater success. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that he had reached a bottleneck. The earth intent realm had reached a bottleneck at first minor success. For the other intents, Lu Ming had reached the peak of first minor success in one go before reaching a bottleneck. The earth intent realm was indeed a special intent realm. It was not something the 9 common intents could compare to. Since he had reached a bottleneck, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and decided to take a walk outside. He opened the door and walked out. However, he saw a figure flashing by and heading outside. Brother Jian! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The silhouette just now was Jian Filiu. It was already nighttime, and Jian Filiu's expression seemed a little anxious. What happened? Lu Ming's expression changed, and he followed. Kenfei Ryue's figure was extremely fast. Like a phantom, he bypassed a few streets and appeared in a secluded alley. Lu Ming engraved an array formation to conceal his aura and followed Kenfei Ryu silently. Kenfei Ryu did not notice him at all. Lu Ming appeared on the roof of a house. He looked down and saw a woman in a small alley. She was Kenfei Ryue's junior sister. Why are you looking for me? Kenfei Ryu looked at the woman in front of him and said coldly, Senior brother, do you really hate me that much? The woman looked at Kenfei Ryu and smiled bitterly. Hate you? How can that be? Everyone has their own aspirations and I can't force them. If I hate someone, I should hate myself. I hate myself for being born with such low talent. No matter how hard I cultivate, I still can't compare to Wang Mang. Kenfei Ryu smiled self-deprecatingly. Senior brother, I was wrong. I was really wrong. At this moment, the woman smiled bitterly. Her delicate body trembled and tears rolled down her cheeks. What's going on? Kenfei Ryu frowned. Senior brother, you have to save me. I want to leave that beast. Ever since I followed him, he didn't treat me as a human and abused me every day. Senior brother, I beg of you. I can only rely on you now. The woman walked to Kenfei Ryue's side and grabbed Kenfei Ryue's arm. She could not stop crying. She rolled up her sleeves and saw that her arm was covered in scars. Those scars were all caused by whips. That beast tortured me every day. He whipped me and left scars on my body. He didn't even allow me to use my chi to heal. I really can't take it anymore. I want to leave him. Senior brother, I want to leave him. I shouldn't have agreed back then. I shouldn't have agreed. The woman cried again and again. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Beast! Beast! Jian Filiu let out a beast-like roar from his throat. Oh no! On the roof, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly moved. Not far away, a few streaks of light were flying towards them at high speed. Bitch! How dare you meet your old lover behind my back? Bitch! An angry roar echoed between heaven and earth. In the next moment, 3 figures landed in the small alley. Wang Mang! The woman screamed. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Kenfei Ryu, how dare you touch my woman? Today you will die. Wang Mang's eyes flashed with ice-cold killing intent. His body emitted raging flames. These flames were purple in color, and the temperature was terrifying. The surrounding walls, as well as the floor beneath his feet, were all vaporized. It vaporized the hard stones. This temperature was too terrifying. Sky-burning flames art. Kenfei Ryu's pupils contracted rapidly. The sky-burning flames art was the ultimate technique of the Wang clan, one of the 6 ancient aristocratic families. Dong! Wang Mang stepped forward and strode towards Kenfei Ryu. A halberd made of flames appeared in his hand. He slashed it towards Kenfei Ryu. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out. Kenfei Ryu's eyes turned golden. A golden sword appeared in his hand. A golden sword light streaked across the night sky. It was as if it could split the darkness apart. However, it could not split Wang Mang's halberd. Boom! The terrifying temperature burned everything. A deep pit appeared on the ground. It was vaporized by the flames. A golden and purple chi shot up into the sky and into the clouds. Thud! Thud! Kenfei Ryu retreated quickly. His body shone with a golden light as he resisted the terrifying temperature. What's going on? Someone is fighting. What a terrifying commotion! Countless people nearby were alarmed and flew over. Suddenly, figures appeared from all directions. That's the sky-burning flames art. It's the genius of the Wang clan. Wang Mang, it's Wang Mang. He's ranked 700th on the list of top 1,000 talents. The other person seems to be Kenfei Ryu. He's fighting with Wang Mang. Some people recognized the two and were shocked. Kenfei Ryu, is this all you've got? I'm so disappointed. Wang Mang's body shone with purple flames. He looked like a god of fire. The terrifying temperature overflowed. Even the air was burning. The place where Wang Mang stood became a vacuum. He stepped out again. The flame halberd cut through the night sky and slashed at Kenfei Ryu. The golden light on Jian Filiu's body was about to solidify and turn into a golden armor on his body. A golden sword light slashed out once again. However, Kenfei Ryu retreated further this time. The golden light on his body trembled as if it was about to collapse. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 old men who came with Wang Mang appeared beside the woman. One of them grabbed her shoulder. "Senior brother," the woman shouted. "Bitch! I'll let you see with your own eyes how I kill your old lover today." Chapter 731. Junior Sister. Kenfei Ryu gritted his teeth and soared into the sky. "You can't escape." Wang Mang stepped forward, his aura like a rainbow. That violet flame was too terrifying. Everywhere it passed, space turned into a vacuum. The Wang family was an ancient family. Their bloodline talents were all of the fire attribute, especially the direct descendants of the Wang family. It was said that they could awaken a bloodline called the pure purple heavenly fire. This bloodline, combined with the godly tier martial skill, the sky-burning flame art, could unleash a terrifying power. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to act. This kind of matter still required Kenfei Ryu to deal with himself. However, if Kenfei Ryu was in danger, Lu Ming would not sit idly by. Golden annihilation slash! Kenfei Ryu roared. The dazzling golden light around his body converged into the battle sword in his hand. An incomparably sharp feeling emanated from the battle sword in Kenfei Ryu's hand. Immediately after, a dark golden sword light slashed towards Wang Mang. Demigod tier martial skill. Wang Mang's pupils shrank as he roared. Immediately after, the flames on his body soared. Pure purple destruction. The purple halberd surged out, causing the air to rumble. A terrifying explosion reverberated through the air. The dark golden sword light shattered, and Kenfei Ryu's body was sent flying. He coughed out large mouthfuls of blood in the air. Furthermore, there were still purple flames burning on his body. It seemed like he wanted to burn Kenfei Ryu to ashes. You actually have a demigod tier martial skill. Unfortunately, you haven't mastered it. Furthermore, it's someone else's martial skill and not a bloodline martial skill. You want to stop me? Die! Shouted Wang Mang. He stepped forward and charged at Jian Filiu. What he used was his own bloodline martial skill. Although it was not at the level of a half-god, it was infinitely close to it. In addition to the combination of the divine-level sky-burning flame incantation and pure purple heavenly fire bloodline, he defeated Jian Filiu's attack. Kenfei Ryu's demigod tier martial skill was obtained in the underground world's sacred mountain. He had just started cultivating it, so it was not strong. Naturally, he was no match for Wang Mang. Kenfei Ryu has been defeated. Is he going to be killed by Wang Mang? The Wang family is too strong. Bloodline is too strong. He is almost invincible against those of the same level. Even though Jian Filiu is strong, it will be hard for him to escape defeat. That's right. Throughout history, the top 10 heavenly kings of the Heavenly King ranking were mostly occupied by the 6 great ancient families. Most of the top spots on the Heavenly King ranking were also occupied by the geniuses of the 6 great ancient families. Not to mention the Heavenly King ranking, the top spots on the list of top 1,000 talents are also occupied by the 6 ancient families. Only after the rise of the Heavenly Corpse sect can there be a genius who can compete with the 6 ancient families. Wang Mang's halberd was already slashing towards Kenfei Ryu. It seemed that Kenfei Ryu's defeat was a foregone conclusion. Boom! Just then, a vast fist radiance pierced through the void and blasted towards Wang Mang. Who is it? How dare you sneak an attack on me? Wang Mang shouted angrily. He changed the direction of his halberd and swung it towards the fist radiance. Boom! There was a loud explosion. Wang Mang moved slightly and took 3 steps back. A slender figure stepped out and walked towards Kenfei Ryu. It was Lu Ming. Brother Jian, are you all right? Lu Ming asked. Brother Lu, I'm sorry. This person is very strong. You have to be careful. Kenfei Ryu had already extinguished the flames on his body and was panting heavily. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Wang Mang. His eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. Today, I'd like to have a taste of your god-level skill, the sky-burning flame technique. It's you. Wang Mang recognized Lu Ming and sneered. Kid, don't think that you can fight me just because you defeated the trash at the bottom of the list of top 1,000 talents. If you want to have a taste of my sky-burning flame technique, then be prepared to be killed. I'm afraid you're not as strong as everyone else. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Although his skill was powerful, it depended on the person who cultivated it. It did not mean that one was invincible just because they cultivated a god-level skill. Take the true dragon fighting technique, for example. If someone else cultivated it, they might not be able to reach the highest level and have 10 times the inner yuan. Different people cultivated it, so its power would be different. Lu Ming's meaning was clear. Wang Mang's cultivation was not up to par. Shameless boasting. Wang Mang narrowed his eyes, and a cold killing intent flashed in them. He took a step forward and continued to charge at Lu Ming, his halberd burning everything in its path. Lu Ming used the exploding star fist and punched out. The fist radiance contained the 2 essences of thunder and fire. Boom! The fist radiance collided with the halberd, causing a violent explosion. What a powerful force! So you've comprehended two essences. Unfortunately, you're only at the first level. Do you think you can stop me? Kill! Wang Mang strode out. His entire body seemed to have turned into flames, and a purple sun seemed to have appeared in the night sky. More and more people gathered around. At this point, there were already thousands of people watching carefully. Most of them were peak kings who had come to participate in the Heavenly King List battle. They could take this opportunity to understand the combat strength of others and compare it with their own. There were even geniuses ranked in the top 700 of the list of top 1,000 talents, as well as some extremely powerful seniors. Wang Mang's essence of fire had obviously reached the second level. Is that so? Then I'll add another one. Wang Mang's essence of wind also burst out. The three essences merged and exploded, pushing the power of the exploding star fist to the extreme. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and a beam of light filled the sky, illuminating the entire city. Lu Ming did not move, but Wang Mang retreated continuously. Three essences? Impossible! Wang Mang's eyes flashed with disbelief. He had not expected someone to cultivate three essences to such a level. Extreme purple break. Wang Mang's aura burst out crazily as he used his upper heaven class bloodline martial technique. The purple flames seemed to be able to destroy everything in their path. I've already said that you're not up to par. Lu Ming sneered, and the true yuan in his body began to circulate wildly. Just now, Lu Ming had not used all of his true yuan strength. Now that he had used all of his true yuan, he would be able to crush anyone of the same level. The fist radiance of the exploding star fist was even more terrifying. Lu Ming threw out dozens of punches in an instant. Each fist radiance was like a shooting star, blasting toward Wang Mang. Boom! Boom! Explosions rang out continuously. After dozens of explosions, Wang Mang's figure retreated, wildly with blood flowing out of his mouth. He was injured and was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. Damn it! Attack! Kill him! Wang Mang roared. The two old men's figures flickered as they pounced toward Lu Ming. These two old men were both peak kings, but they had definitely lived for a long time. Apart from their essence of heaven and earth not reaching the second level, they were extremely powerful in all aspects. Their strength was not much weaker than Wang Mang's. The two of them worked together to suppress Lu Ming. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he stepped forward and threw out two palms. These two palms seemed ordinary, but they contained a terrifying power. Hell's suppressing heaven art. Chapter 732. The onlookers were shocked. Such powerful seniors were actually beaten by Lu Ming to the point of vomiting blood. Lu Ming's battle prowess shocked them once again. Lu Ming's long hair fluttered as he chased after the two old men. Brat, stop! Wang Mang's voice rang out. He stood behind Kenfei Ryu's junior sister, his berserk aura enveloping her. Brat, if you dare to attack again, do you believe that I won't kill her? Lu Ming frowned. He didn't expect Wang Mang to be so despicable, actually using Feng Ting's life to threaten him. Feng Ting was Kenfei Ryu's junior sister's name. Seeing Lu Ming stop, Wang Mang's face revealed a trace of malevolence. Brat, cripple your own cultivation. Otherwise, this bitch will die right now. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed. Wang Mang, if I remember correctly, this woman should be your wife, right? You're using your wife's life to threaten me? Was your head bitten off by a dog? Also, is this how the so-called descendants of ancient families behave? My horizons have been broadened. Lu Ming really didn't expect Wang Mang to be so shameless, actually using his wife to threaten Lu Ming. Lu Ming was speechless. Bang! Lu Ming continued to step forward, his gaze threatening. If you want to kill me, go ahead. I don't know this woman. However, I'm afraid you, Wang Mang, will have to bear the reputation of killing your wife and threatening your enemy. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's palm struck out, suppressing everything. The two old men spat out mouthfuls of blood, each of their arms exploding. Damn it! Retreat! Wang Mang grabbed Feng Ting and quickly retreated. The two old men also quickly retreated. Lu Ming didn't press on. He was still somewhat worried about Feng Ting's life. If Wang Mang really went crazy and killed Feng Ting, Kenfei Ryu wouldn't feel good. Kenfei Ryu, you trash. Do you only know how to hide behind others? Don't worry, after I go back, I'll take better care of this bitch. This is all thanks to you. Wang Mang's furious voice rang out. Senior brother. Feng Ting was so scared that her face turned pale and her body trembled nonstop. Junior sister. Kenfei Ryu's eyes were red. He clenched his fists, but there was nothing he could do. Also, brat, just you wait. How dare you injure someone from my Wang clan? I'll see how you die. Wang Mang shouted angrily at Lu Ming. He then left with his men in a dejected manner. Lu Ming shook his head. After all, he was an outsider. Earlier, he had the ability to make Wang Mang stay. But so what? In the end, Feng Ting's fate would be even more miserable. She might even implicate Kenfei Ryu. He was not afraid, but he had to take Kenfei Ryu and Feng Ting into consideration. Kenfei Ryu stared blankly in the direction Wang Mang left. His body trembled uncontrollably. Trash, I'm trash. Kenfei Ryu muttered to himself. Brother Jian. Lu Ming frowned. Kenfei Ryu's state was not right. Trash, Brother Lu, I'm trash. I can't even protect the woman I love. I can only watch as she's being bullied. Tell me, do you think someone like me is worthy of being called a genius? Do you think I'm worthy of living in this world? Jian Filiu's eyes were lifeless and dispirited. It was as if he had lost all his fighting spirit at this moment. Lu Ming frowned. Kenfei Ryu's current state was very dangerous. His martial heart was on the verge of collapse. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body. A long spear appeared in his hand. The sharp spear light pierced towards Kenfei Ryu's forehead. Kenfei Ryu sensed the terrifying killing intent. A golden light flashed in his hand. A golden battle sword appeared and blocked the spear light. He quickly retreated and looked at Lu Ming. Brother Lu, what's the meaning of this? Meaning? Kill you. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Kill me? Why do you want to kill me? Kenfei Ryu was in disbelief. What's the point of leaving trash like you alive? You can't recover from such a small setback. What's the point of cultivating martial arts? I might as well send you on your way. Lu Ming's aura was oppressive and his clear voice continued. The path of martial arts is full of thorns. We will encounter all kinds of difficulties. What we need to do is not to retreat, but to move forward bravely. We need to use our own strength to smash everything. If gods block us, we will kill them. If demons block us, we will kill them. If you want to save your junior sister, the only way is to become stronger. Nobles, generals, and nobles are all powerful. Didn't the ancestors of the ancient aristocratic families start from ordinary people? What's a mere Wang family? As long as I'm strong enough, I alone can be an ancient aristocratic family. Lu Ming's voice was like a huge bell. It constantly struck Kenfei Ryu's soul, causing Kenfei Ryu's body to tremble. Power, power. Yes, as long as I'm strong enough, I can save junior sister. As long as I'm strong enough, I can destroy everything. Kenfei Ryu muttered to himself. His eyes slowly regained some color. Then he closed his eyes. After a while, when he opened his eyes again, it was as if there were two golden divine swords in his eyes that pierced the sky. A golden battle sword appeared above his head. It looked as if it could pierce the sky. At that moment, Kenfei Ryu seemed to have comprehended something and underwent a metamorphosis. Brother Lu, thank you very much this time. Kenfei Ryu solemnly bowed to Lu Ming and thanked him. This time it was too dangerous. His martial heart had almost collapsed. If his martial heart collapsed, it would be impossible for his cultivation to improve in the future. He might even be invaded by his inner demons and suffer qi deviation. However, Lu Ming's words had enlightened him. It had even allowed him to undergo a metamorphosis. He had comprehended a new martial skill from his bloodline, an even more powerful bloodline martial skill. He was extremely grateful to Lu Ming. "Brother Jian, there's no need to be so polite. I'm just speaking my mind. Let's go." Then, the two of them returned to the inn. However, the crowd around them was discussing animatedly. "Who's that kid? What arrogance! He's looking down on the Wang family. Not only that, he even said that he alone can be an ancient aristocratic family. What arrogance! He doesn't know his place. Just watch. The Wang family's prodigy won't let him go. Wang Mang is only average in the Wang family." The sounds of discussion filled the air. Soon the news of the battle spread. The next morning, Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Kenfei Ryu, and the other 29 experts of the Golden Sword sect flew to the west. The Heavenly King Steel was there. 100 miles away, a huge steel towered into the sky. It was 1,000 meters tall and at least a few hundred meters wide. There were no words on one side of the steel. It was blank. Below it, there were 27 stone steps. The stone steps were very long. One could see that the top 7 steps were dark red. There was no one on it. The bottom 20 steps were gray, the same color as the steel. There were many figures on these 20 steps. They were sitting cross-legged on the steps, as if they were cultivating. Moreover, the number of people decreased from the bottom to the top. The first step had the most people. The higher one went, the fewer people there were. Chapter 733. Are these people cultivating on the top? Lu Ming asked. That's right. There are 2 Heavenly King Steels. One is used for the assessment, while the other is used for cultivation. The Heavenly King Steels have markings left behind by ancient powerhouses. As long as one ascends the stairs, they will be enlightened. Some people can even use it to break through. Jian Fenglu explained. Isn't it said that only those who participate in the Heavenly King list battle and obtain 108 slots can step onto the Heavenly King Steels and obtain opportunities? Lu Ming was curious. You're talking about the 7 dark red stairs at the top. Only the final 108 people can step onto the stairs because the effect is much stronger than the 20 stairs below. Kenfei Ryu said, "Oh, what will happen if one doesn't obtain a slot?" Lu Ming asked. "Death. Without a slot. Only death awaits those who step onto the stairs. There will be no exceptions. In fact, the 20 stairs below are also very dangerous. It tests one's willpower and has nothing to do with one's martial heart. If one's willpower is not strong enough, there is a high chance that one will die on the stairs. Moreover, the higher the stairs, the stronger and more dangerous it is. Of course, if one can withstand it and reap the rewards will be equally great," Kenfei Ryu explained. Lu Ming nodded, and his eyes were filled with interest. The Heavenly King Steels only opened once every 3 years. During normal times, the stairs would not have any effect. It would only take effect when the time was right. The stairs took effect half a month ago. Some people had been cultivating there since half a month ago. During this period, there would be a large number of people coming every day. Buzz! At that moment, someone on the stairs could not withstand it and was blasted off the stairs. He flew far away and fell to the ground with blood spurting out of his mouth. There were also people who stood up with trembling bodies and slowly retreated. They only heaved a sigh of relief when they reached the bottom of the stairs. Their bodies were drenched in sweat. "Sigh, I can only last for half an hour on the 7th step." The person sighed. He was a middle-aged man. "It's good enough that you can last for half an hour on the 7th step. I'm ashamed to say that I've lived for 800 years, and I can only last for 20 minutes on the 7th step." An old man sighed. "Speaking of which, Jiang Taishu is really terrifying. The middle-aged man looked at the figure sitting cross-legged on the 19th step at the top. The figure was tall and straight. He was obviously a young man. What? That's Jiang Taishu? Kenfei Ryu exclaimed. Lu's heart was also shocked. Almost all of the top 600 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Wilderness were at the sea spirit realm, except for 10 of them. These 10 geniuses, as martial kings, managed to squeeze into the top 600 and compete with other sea spirit realm geniuses. One could imagine how powerful they were. These 10 people were also ranked in the top 10 of the Heavenly King ranking. They were known as the 10 Heavenly Kings. Jiang Taishu was one of them. He was the descendant of the Jiang family, one of the 6 ancient families. Now, the top 4 of the 10 Heavenly Kings have reached the sea spirit realm and won't take part in this competition. There's another genius from the Talisman Puppet sect who won't take part in this competition. Jiang Taishu is ranked 6th among the 10 Heavenly Kings and is one of the most likely candidates for the title of the strongest Heavenly King on the Heavenly King list. That's right. He's too terrifying. He's already been on the 19th step for 3 days. Gosh, that's too terrifying. He's only 1 step away from being comparable to the ancient heroes. Sounds of discussion could be heard all around. Lu Ming's gaze pierced through the crowd and landed on the figure at the top. Whoosh! Whoosh! Air-rending sounds could be heard from time to time as people kept arriving. Lu Ming saw Gao Chang, a few gray-robed youths from the Heavenly Corpse sect, Qin Qingshan and Qin Qingfei. When Qin Qingfei saw Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with fear. Rumble! A blazing aura descended as a group of people arrived. The crowd hurriedly moved aside. They were the Wang family, an ancient family. There were more than a dozen people from the Wang family. Obviously, this was only a small portion of the Wang family. Wang Mang was among them. Little bastard! Wang Mang looked coldly at Lu Ming and Kenfei Ryu the moment he arrived. Wang Mang, are you talking about that brat? There was a young man beside Wang Mang. This young man was very strange. His eyes were red like rubies, which was very demonic. That's right. It's that little bastard. Wang Mang pointed at Lu Ming. The red-eyed young man strode toward Lu Ming. Along the way, the crowd moved aside because the red-eyed young man's body temperature was too high. It's the Wang family. That person's eyes are fiery red. He must be Wang Mia. Wang Mia, ranked 635 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Whispers of discussion could be heard all around. Brother Lu, you have to be careful. This person is very strong. Kenfei Ryu reminded him softly. The 635th on the list of top 1,000 talents was almost the strongest among the kings. Apart from the 10 kings, the rest of the top 600 were all in the sea spirit realm. Brat, last night you were the one who injured the men of my Wang clan and spoke arrogantly, saying that my Wang clan is nothing. Wang Mia walked up to Lu Ming and asked flatly. His voice was calm, but there was a condescending tone to it. So what if I am? Lu Ming replied calmly. Ha ha ha, so what if I am? You don't know your place. How dare you say that in front of me? Let me tell you, the consequence is death. Wang Mia laughed coldly. You can try. Lu Ming was still very calm. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Boom! Purple flames rose from Wang Mia's body. The terrifying temperature instantly evaporated the air. The area where he stood within a 3-meter radius became a vacuum. Boom! At the same time, a powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body. His genuine core power roared like a dragon, and the 3-colored essence of heaven and earth surrounded him. As soon as their auras collided, Lu Ming instantly felt a terrifying heat surging toward him. It was as if this heat could burn and destroy everything. Lu Ming's body involuntarily retreated by 3 steps. Wang Mia also took 3 steps back. This scene caused a wave of exclamations. Who is that young man? He's so terrifying. He's not at a disadvantage in the confrontation with Wang Nie's aura. How terrifying! Indeed, he's very unfamiliar. He must be a rising genius. There are too many geniuses in the Heavenly King list battle this time. It's too difficult for us. Some of the older generation figures sighed. Although many of the older generation figures had cultivated for hundreds or even thousands of years and were very powerful in all aspects, their talent was limited if they could not break through the spiritual sea. Moreover, if they could not break through the spiritual sea, it meant that the essence of heaven and earth was still stuck at level 1 perfection. In every Heavenly King list battle, the young geniuses had the upper hand. Chapter 734. With the arrival of the Great Era, geniuses will emerge in large numbers. This time, the Heavenly King ranking battle will be an early showdown between geniuses. It will be extremely tragic. We have to be prepared. Some of the older generation figures sighed. Kid, you have some skills. Let's see how strong you are. Wang Nie was forced to retreat by Lu Ming. He felt embarrassed, and the killing intent in his eyes turned colder. The aura on his body also became stronger. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Lu Ming did not back down. His battle intent was even stronger. Suddenly, a vast and boundless aura spread down from the top of everyone's head. An old man appeared in the air and said, "No fighting is allowed in front of the Heavenly King monument. Violators will be killed without mercy." His voice rumbled, shocking everyone. This old man's aura was too terrifying. It made one unable to think of resisting. He was definitely not an ordinary Sea of Soul Realm expert. Perhaps he was a top expert in the spiritual embryo realm. Every time the Heavenly King monument opened, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect would send experts to manage it together. It was obvious that this old man was the expert in charge of the Heavenly King monument. Lu Ming and Wang Nie quickly retracted their auras and disappeared. Kid, you're lucky this time. However, when the Heavenly King ranking battle begins, you won't be so lucky. Killing intent flashed in Wang Nie's eyes. Is that so? Then, I'll see you at the Heavenly King ranking battle. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Wang Nie snorted and turned to leave. At this moment, people were constantly being blasted down from the Heavenly King monument stairs. I must break through my limits and step into the spiritual sea realm. A loud roar sounded. On the 10th step, a white-haired old man with a crazy aura stepped onto the 11th step. Bang! A big hole suddenly appeared in the old man's chest. He screamed as his body was blasted down the stairs like a kite with a broken string. He fell to the ground, no longer breathing. It's Elder Ling Wang. Sigh, his lifespan is almost up. He wanted to fight, but he still died in the end. Someone recognized the old man and sighed. What can we do if we don't fight? Rather than dying from the exhaustion of our lifespan, we might as well fight. A white-haired old man said firmly. The number of people on the stairs decreased. At this time, there were new people going up. For example, Gao Chang, Qin Qingshan, Qin Qingfei, and the others. Bang! Bang! About 100 people stepped onto the first step. As soon as everyone stepped onto the platform, some people's expressions changed greatly. Their bodies trembled, but they gritted their teeth and barely managed to hold on. Others had calm expressions. Gao Chang and Qin Qingshan's expressions were calm. With a blood-curdling scream, Qin Qingfei was directly blasted down the first flight of stairs, crashing heavily onto the ground. Haha, who is this person? He was blasted down the first step. The crowd burst into laughter. Normally, those who came here were all considered experts among peak kings. It was rare for them to be blasted off the first step. Their willpower was too weak. Damn it, how did this happen? Qin Qingfei's face flushed red, feeling extremely ashamed. Out of more than 100 people, he was the only one who was blasted off the first step. As for the others, some sat cross-legged on the first step, while others continued to walk up. After that, at every step, there would be people who would stop and sit down cross-legged. There were also people who would be blasted off the steps. Generally speaking, as long as they did not force themselves, their lives would not be in danger. At most, they would be injured. Only a few people continued to climb. This was especially so for Gao Chang and Qin Qingshan. Their rankings on the list of top 1,000 talents were close. At this moment, they seemed to be competing with each other and had no intention of stopping. Soon, the two of them had reached the 10th step. After reaching the 10th step, the two of them stopped and looked up, fear flashing in their eyes. But in the next moment, they continued to climb. Bang! Bang! The moment Gao Chang stepped onto the first step, his body trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His body involuntarily retreated back to the 10th step. He roared angrily and steadied himself on the 10th step. However, Qin Qingshan did not retreat. Although his body was trembling, he still stood firmly on the 11th step. Gao Chang's eyes were filled with reluctance. After all, he was still no match for Qin Qingshan. After Qin Qingshan steadied himself on the 11th step, he took another step, the 12th step. When he stood on the 12th step, his body trembled uncontrollably and his face turned pale. After a while, he slowly stabilized himself. Then he sat cross-legged on the 12th step and began to cultivate. Let's go up too. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with curiosity as he stepped forward. Xian Yanqing, Kenfei Ryu, and the rest followed suit. In addition, Lu Ming also saw Wang Mia, Wang Mang, the three gray-robed men from the Heavenly Corpse sect, and the rest. There were more than 100 of them. Bang! Lu Ming stepped onto the first step. The moment Lu Ming stepped onto the first step, he felt a strong pressure on his body, and even his heart. Roar! At the same time, a huge and ferocious demonic beast pounced on Lu Ming. Its murderous aura enveloped Lu Ming as it opened its bloody mouth and bit at Lu Ming's neck. It was as if it could bite off Lu Ming's neck in the next moment. Lu Ming frowned. His body was as still as a mountain as he allowed the demonic beast to attack him. When the demonic beast hit his body, it disappeared without a trace. Illusion, it was indeed an illusion. However, that cold and merciless murderous aura and violent murderous aura were real. Moreover, the most terrifying part of this illusion was that if one's will was not strong enough and could not withstand it, the illusion would become real and give a heavy blow. This was also why some people could not withstand it and would be seriously injured or even die. The demonic beast on the first step was not too strong. Very few people would be blasted off. Then, Lu Ming stepped onto the second step. The pressure on his body and mind became stronger. At the same time, a ferocious demonic beast pounced on him. This demonic beast's eyes were cold and merciless. Its murderous aura and murderous aura were even stronger than the previous one. However, Lu Ming ignored it and let the demonic beast charge past him. He continued to step onto the third step, the fourth step. On the side, Xian Yanqing and Kenfei Ryu did not stop at all and stepped onto the fourth step. On the other side, Wang Mang, Wang Mia, and the three gray-robed men from the Heavenly Corpse sect did the same. From the fourth step onwards, not only did the murderous aura and murderous aura on the demonic beasts' bodies become stronger, they even carried the intent of heaven and earth. This way, the pressure on people was even more terrifying. The further they went, the more demonic beasts there were. The impact on people became more and more real. Many people could not bear it anymore. They either stopped or were blasted off. How mysterious! The intent of heaven and earth on these demonic beasts seems to have been left behind by a top expert. If I can capture it, I will definitely be able to deepen my understanding of the intent of heaven and earth and even break through. However, this place is not strong enough. I need a stronger pressure and a stronger intent of heaven and earth. Perhaps it can help me break through the bottleneck and cultivate my intent of heaven and earth to the second level. Chapter 735. The Heavenly King's Steel was indeed a good place. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the 10th step. Xian Yanqing and Kenfei Ryu also arrived at the 10th step. However, Only a few of the other 29 elders of the Golden Sword sect had arrived at the 10th step. On the other side, Wang Mia, Wang Mang, and the 3 gray-robed men of the Heavenly Corpse sect had also arrived at the 10th step. Wang Mia and Wang Mang gave Lu Ming and the rest a provocative look. Then they stepped onto the 11th step. Bang! Lu Ming did not stop and also stepped onto the 11th step. Whoosh! Whoosh! When he stepped onto the 11th step, rays of light shot towards Lu Ming. These rays of light were of various colors and shapes. There were swords, sabers, fists, palms, hammers, etc. These weapons of various colors exuded cold, murderous intent as they charged toward Lu Ming. It was as if many experts had launched an attack on him. Lu Ming stood still. Puff! Puff! These weapons landed on Lu Ming's body one after another. What was different from before was that the previous demonic beasts disappeared after pouncing on him. However, this time around, these weapons pierced through his entire body after landing on him. There were many holes in his body, and a soul-piercing pain emanated from him. How could this be? Lu Ming took a deep breath and looked in other directions. He saw that the others were not injured. However, there was a look of disbelief or solemnity in their eyes. Illusion. It should still be an illusion. However, this illusion was too real. It was as if many experts were really attacking him and piercing through his body. This kind of attack could even penetrate his soul and cause incomparable pain. In such an environment, how many people could guard their hearts and not be moved? They could even move forward bravely. Once they retreated, these illusions could become real and cause serious injuries. Amazing! However, these illusions are far from enough to make me retreat. My heart is as firm as a rock. If I retreat in the face of such an attack, how can I face Martial Emperor Di in the future? Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he continued to climb. On the 12th step, there were still many attacks. Every color of these attacks represented a concept of heaven and earth. They were incomparably mysterious and were definitely left behind by a peerless expert. Then it was the 13th step and the 14th step. At this point, the 29 experts of the Golden Sword sect had all stopped. On the 14th step, there were only Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kenfei Ryu, Wang Mia, Wang Mang, and the 3 gray-robed youths from the Heavenly Corpse sect. There were also 2 white-haired old men who were bitterly holding on. At the bottom of the stairs, countless people were watching. Amazing! They are indeed peerless geniuses. Who do you think is stronger? Which step can they reach? That's hard to say. The Heavenly King still tests one's will and heart of martial arts. It doesn't have much to do with one's battle prowess. Normally, it's hard to tell. Even so, it's not completely impossible. Generally, the higher one's talent and potential, the further they can go. For example, that Jiang Taishu. Therefore, I think that Wang Mia should be able to go further in this group. It shouldn't be a problem for him to reach the 17th step. And indeed, also, that Lu Ming was able to confront Wang Mia just now. He's also extraordinary. He should be able to reach the 16th step. As for Kenfei Ryu, Wang Mang, the 3 from the Heavenly Corpse sect, and that young woman, they should be able to reach the 16th step at most. In fact, they might only be able to reach the 15th step. Your conjecture is quite possible. Below, the crowd discussed animatedly, expressing their opinions. Just as the crowd was discussing, Lu Ming and the others took another step. The 15th step. Whoosh! A sword light, like a flying immortal, pierced towards Lu Ming's forehead. The sharp killing intent made Lu Ming feel that he would lose his life in the next moment. He knew that this was fake, but the feeling was too real. No matter who it was, they would subconsciously want to block, retreat, or resist. Come, even if it's a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, what do I have to fear? Puchi! Lu Ming felt as if his forehead had been pierced. A cold feeling spread throughout his body. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if he was really going to be killed. My heart won't move, Lu Ming muttered, looking up with a determined gaze. There seemed to be endless wills of heaven and earth roaming between heaven and earth. Every one of them was incomparably mysterious. However, this was not what Lu Ming wanted. He wanted to go even higher. Boom! Boom! At this moment, 2 old men on the 15th step screamed miserably as they were blasted off the step, spurting blood from their mouths. As for the 3 gray-robed men from the Heavenly Corpse sect, 2 of them trembled violently and were almost blasted off the step. However, they managed to endure it with a roar, but they were also panting heavily and sweating profusely. The last one was Wang Mang. His body was trembling and his face was pale. In addition, Kenfei Ryu's body was also trembling slightly. Could it be that this is my limit? No, I can still be stronger. I want to become a peak expert. I want to use my strength to protect the people I love. I want to save Junior's sister. Kenfei Ryu roared in his heart. His eyes were filled with madness and determination. Bang! Kenfei Ryu was the first to step onto the 16th step. He was stepping for love. He had to become stronger. Yesterday, Lu Ming had said that as long as one was strong enough, one could become an ancient aristocratic family. That soaring, heroic spirit had deeply touched him. He wanted to break through the limit. On the 16th step, Kenfei Ryu's body was trembling violently. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were filled with determination. Slowly his body calmed down, and he stood steadily on the 16th step. Kenfei Ryu actually managed to step onto the 16th step and hold his ground. Amazing, truly amazing. That's right. Kenfei Ryu is ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents. It's really rare for someone like him to be able to step onto the 16th step. Generally speaking, it's rare for someone to step onto the 16th step after being ranked 700th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Many people were discussing in shock as they looked at the 16th step. Seeing Kenfei Ryu step onto the 16th step, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing smiled faintly. Jin, Filiu had an obsession in his heart. He would definitely become stronger. Impossible. Wang Mang's eyes widened in disbelief. It was already very difficult for him to step onto the 15th step. He did not expect Kenfei Ryu to be able to step onto the 16th step. How can I lose to this trash? Wang Mang roared and stepped onto the 16th step. In the next moment, his eyes were filled with horror. With a scream, his body flew far away and fell to the ground, vomiting blood. Bang! Chapter 736. Humph! Wang Ye glanced at Kenfei Ryu, snorted coldly, and stepped forward. Then, Wang Ye's body trembled slightly, and he stood firmly on the 16th step. Let's see how far you can go. Wang Ye looked coldly at Lu Ming, full of provocation. Lu Ming smiled faintly and stepped forward. The 16th step was undoubtedly more terrifying, but Lu Ming still stood firmly. Xian Yinqing followed closely behind him. Xian Yinqing's eyes were extremely determined. Lu Ming seemed to see Xian Yinqing's eyes that she was going to step on someone. It shouldn't be me, right? Lu Ming shook his head and smiled in his heart. Wang Ye's eyes turned cold when he saw that Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing had both stepped onto the 16th step. Below, the others were also surprised. They didn't expect that other than Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and Kenfei Ryu would both be able to step onto the 16th step. Brother Lu, Miss Xia, I can't accompany you all the way up, Kenfei Ryu said at the side. Then he sat down cross-legged and started cultivating. If you can't step on it, don't force yourself. Otherwise, it will be a joke if you die here before the Heavenly King leaderboard starts. Wang Ye looked at Lu Ming and sneered. Is that so? You're telling yourself that, aren't you? Lu Ming smiled faintly. You have a sharp tongue. Let's see if you can step on it. Wang Ye snorted and stepped forward. Bam! Wang Ye's foot landed heavily on the 17th step. Instantly, his body shook violently, as if he was under terrifying pressure. But in the end, he still managed to step on it. He stopped. Wang Ye can indeed step onto the 17th step. It's said that the situation on the 17th step is completely different from the previous 16 steps. It's even more terrifying. The 17th step is a hurdle. Only those who can step onto the 17th step can be considered top talents. Wang Nie stepping onto the 17th step moved many people, although they had already expected it. Come on up. Lu Ming turned his head and looked down at Lu Ming in a condescending manner, revealing a smug expression. There were different levels of talents. Wang Nie had stepped onto the 17th step. In terms of determination and potential, he could already be ranked among the top talents. How could he not be smug? Bam! His smug expression didn't last long before it stiffened. Xie Nianqing took a step forward. Wang Nie, he didn't even tremble. A frog at the bottom of a well, short-sighted. What's there to be proud of about the 17th step? Xie Nianqing glanced at Wang Nie with disdain. Below, many people were dumbfounded. Xie Nianqing's actions were completely out of their expectations. They had to reevaluate this beautiful girl. Xie Nianqing hadn't said much before. Now, they knew that they had underestimated Xie Nianqing. Wang Nie's face was ghastly. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "She is her. What about you?" Bam! As soon as Wang Nie finished speaking, Lu Ming stepped forward and stood firmly on the 17th step. Wang Nie's expression was completely stiff. The 17th step is indeed different. Lu Ming's gaze looked up. In front of him, a figure as tall as the heavens appeared. This figure exuded a terrifying pressure. This pressure was unparalleled, like the might of the heavens. Under this pressure, even his soul trembled, unable to summon the slightest thought of resisting. "Get down!" The huge figure spat out these 3 words. His voice was like thunder. It was extremely majestic and couldn't be resisted. At the same time, various rays of light landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming could clearly feel that there were holes in his body. Blood was flowing out. "You have no right to ask me to get down." Lu Ming's eyes were firm and bright. He faced the huge figure without fear. "Damn it!" Wang Nie let out a low growl. At this moment, 9 people on the 17th step opened their eyes and looked at Lu Ming and the other 2. These 9 people were the ones who had already stepped onto the 17th step. Some were old, but most of them were young. They were all extremely powerful. Interesting. A few more geniuses have come. Wang Nie seems to be at a disadvantage. Wang Nie can only stop here. What's the background of that young man? I've never seen him before. He seems to be a rising genius. I wonder if he can step onto the 18th step. On the 17th step, a few young experts were discussing. It's not enough. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He didn't even look at Wang Nie. He lifted his foot and continued to step up. Lu Ming's firm footsteps landed on the 18th step. He steadily stepped onto it. At this moment, the 5 figures sitting cross-legged on the 18th step opened their eyes at the same time and looked at Lu Ming. "Impossible!" Wang Nie roared. The rest of the people present looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming could actually step onto the 18th step. It was too shocking and beyond everyone's expectations. There were only 5 people sitting cross-legged on the 18th step. These 5 were extremely famous geniuses. Although they weren't among the 10 heavenly kings, they were close to that level. Each of them ranked above Wang Nie on the list of top 1,000 talents. Now, there was one more person. There was only one person above them on the 19th step. That was Jiang Taishu. The point was this Lu Ming's limit? Could he go one step further and be on par with Jiang Taishu on the 19th step? They were curious, extremely curious, but an even more shocking scene occurred. Xie Nianqing also lifted his foot and stood on the 18th step. "Do you want to try?" This time, Lu Ming turned his head and looked down at Wang Nie. Damn it! Wang Nie's eyes were extremely gloomy. His body was emitting blazing flames like a fire god. "If you can't step on it, don't force yourself. The list of heavenly kings hasn't started yet. If you die here, it'll be a joke." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Wang Mia was so angry that he almost vomited blood. These were the words he had said to Lu Ming just now. Now, Lu Ming had returned them to him. I don't believe it. Wang Mia's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. With a low growl, he stepped onto the 18th step. Suddenly, his body shook violently. His eyes were filled with horror. He screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was directly sent flying down, following in Wang Ming's footsteps. The 17th step was already Wang Mia's limit. If he forced himself to go up, this would be the only result. It was lucky that he didn't die. The crowd just casually glanced at Wang Mia, then looked back at the two figures on the 18th step. Would they be able to continue going up? The crowd was extremely curious. However, to their disappointment, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. Chapter 737. Many people heaved a sigh of relief. Then there was a burst of discussion. It seems that the two of them can only reach the 18th step. That's their limit. It's already amazing. Although the higher they go, it doesn't mean that their combat strength will be stronger. At least it shows that their will and martial arts heart are extremely tenacious and have endless potential. Yes, if they break through to the sea spirit realm, they can easily rush into the top 500 of the list of top 1,000 talents. I wonder how long they can stay on the 18th step. Many people nodded in amazement. These were two newly risen sky prides. During this period of time, there had been quite a number of newly risen sky prides. On the 18th step, the other 5 people saw Lu Ming and Jiang Taishu sitting cross-legged. They also closed their eyes and began to cultivate. Jiang Taishu, who was on the 19th step, did not open his eyes. It seemed that below the 19th step, nothing could arouse his interest. Lu Ming did not continue to go up, not because he could not, but because he felt that the 18th step should be enough. He sat cross-legged. Above him, the huge figure was still berating him, telling him to get down. At the same time, countless rays of light of various colors pierced toward him. It's really uncomfortable to have to bear this kind of pressure and pain all the time. Lu Ming smiled slightly. However, this was also a kind of training. At the same time, the attacks of various colors were all essence realms of heaven and earth, left behind by peerless experts in the antiquity times. This was an unparalleled wealth. Talented people could comprehend the essence realms of heaven and earth and even comprehend supreme combat skills. Only warriors in the martial king realm could enter the heavenly king list and be effective. If a sea spirit realm expert or even stronger stepped on it, there would be no effect at all. Lu Ming closed his eyes and his mind spread out. He raised his eyebrows slightly. He had just caught a flash of lightning. This thunder essence is compatible with me. I must capture it. Lu Ming carefully sensed. After a while, he sensed a wisp of thunder essence again. Buzz! At this moment, his concept of thunder turned into a rope that flew out with extreme speed and wrapped around the concept of thunder. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's mind buzzed. The environment of heaven and earth seemed to change. Lu Ming discovered that he had appeared in a void. In the void, there was a figure leaping about, displaying the concept of thunder. What a miraculous concept of lightning. So, it turns out that the concept of lightning can actually be used like this. With just a glance, Lu Ming was mesmerized. His eyes were fixed on it. He discovered that his comprehension of the concept of thunder was constantly increasing. Like this, time slowly passed. Lu Ming seemed to have forgotten about the attacks outside, the pressure and the pain. He wholeheartedly focused on comprehending the concept of thunder. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Suddenly, in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, there was only one concept of thunder rune. Suddenly, a new concept of thunder rune appeared. This new concept of thunder rune was only an inch long, much shorter than the previous one. As soon as it appeared, it intertwined with the first rune, complementing each other. Second level concept. Lu Ming's concept of thunder had successfully broken through to the second level. He finally had a concept of heaven and earth, breaking through the bottleneck and stepping into the second level. However, this was far from enough. Lu Ming still had 3 concepts that he needed to step into the second level. Otherwise, his cultivation would not be able to break through the spiritual sea realm. Immediately, Lu Ming continued to cultivate. This time, he did not continue to comprehend the concept of thunder. Instead, he began to capture other concepts. Not long after, he successfully captured the concept of wind and began to comprehend it. Time passed slowly. There were more and more people on the Sky King's stele. Some people climbed up the stairs, while others could not hold on and were blasted off the stairs. During this time, many more geniuses appeared. There were more people on the 17th and 18th steps. However, there was only Jiang Taishu on the 19th step. The other geniuses who were as famous as Jiang Taishu did not appear. They might be cultivating elsewhere. In the blink of an eye, another 6 days had passed. It was already the 13th day since Lu Ming stepped onto the Sky King's stele. At this time, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Now that my wind and thunder concepts have both stepped into the second level, it's time to improve my earth concept. Only when my earth concept reaches the completion of the first level, or even the second level, my hell-suppressing heaven skill will be stronger. Lu Ming looked up. He needed to climb higher. He had tried just now. He did not capture the appropriate earth concept on the 18th step, so he could only go up. In the next moment, Lu Ming stood up. Below, many people looked at him curiously. Lu Ming has stood up. He has been up there for 13 days. I guess he can't take it anymore and will come down. It's scary enough to stay on the 18th step for 13 days. What's more shocking is Jiang Taishu. He has been on the 19th step for so long. Jiang Taishu is likely to rank first on the Sky King's stele this time. However, in the next moment, the discussion came to an abrupt end. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. They realized that Lu Ming was not going to step down. He was going to go up. Bang! Lu Ming stood firmly on the 19th step and stood firmly on it. At this moment, everyone gasped with their mouths wide open. Lu Ming actually stood still. He had successfully reached the 19th step and was on par with Jiang Taishu. Jiang Taishu, who had been sitting cross-legged on the 19th step without any movement, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 sharp rays of light flashed through his eyes. A trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. He did not expect that the person who had reached the 19th step would be a young man whom he did not know. However, what was more shocking was that after Lu Ming reached the 19th step, he did not seem to have any intention of stopping. He looked at the 20th step. Oh my God! Is he going to reach the 20th step? No way, that's the 20th step. Not many people have been able to reach it. In this year's list of top 1,000 talents, only the top 20 geniuses have reached the 20th step when they were at the Martial King realm. The previous first on the Sky King's stele also reached the 20th step. No one else has reached it. Can he really do it? Even Jiang Taishu can't reach it. Many people were discussing in shock. At this moment, the sharpness in Jiang Taishu's eyes intensified. He stood up and said to Lu Ming, "Are you going to reach the 20th step?" Jiang Taishu had transmitted his voice, so no one else could hear it. "That's right," Lu Ming said. "I advise you to stay on the 19th step." Jiang Taishu transmitted his voice again. "What do you mean?" Lu Ming asked. "What do I mean?" Chapter 738. There was a hint of a smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. It was a mocking smile. He knew what Jiang Taishu meant. Jiang Taishu's meaning was obvious. He was already on the 19th step. If Lu Ming stepped onto the 20th step, he would be humiliated. Jiang Taishu was not able to step on it, but he wanted to be superior and not let others step on it. It was ridiculous. Why would Lu Ming care about such a person? If you're so capable, come up too. Lu Ming smiled coldly and ignored Jiang Taishu. He turned around and stepped forward without hesitation. Boom! When Lu Ming stepped onto the second step, He felt as if the whole world was pressing down on him. His body involuntarily trembled, as if he would collapse at any time. In the sky ahead, Lu Ming saw a figure as tall as the sky, looking down at him. That kind of pressure was even more terrifying and powerful. "Get down!" The voice kept rushing into Lu Ming's mind and soul. Endless lights of various colors flew toward Lu Ming and hit Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming felt as if he was being cut into pieces. He could clearly see his flesh and blood being separated from his body. Of course, this was only what he felt. What others saw was that his body was trembling slightly. He stepped on it. He stepped on it. His body is trembling slightly. It seems very difficult. Can he hold on? If he can, he's comparable to the top 20 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. The 20th step. This guy has a bright future. Below, countless people widened their eyes in shock and nervousness as they looked up at Lu Ming. "No one can make me get down." Lu Ming growled on the 20th step. His eyes were full of determination and persistence. He wanted to break through all obstacles. He wanted to reach the peak. He wanted to surpass Martial Emperor Di. A figure seemed to appear in front of him. It was indomitable and had an unparalleled aura. It was even bigger and more majestic than the figure that had told him to get down. That was the Martial Emperor Di in his imagination. He had surpassed Martial Emperor Di. Why should he be afraid of this figure? His posture slowly stabilized and he stood up straight. He stood firmly on the 20th step. Above them was the dark red staircase. Only those who had participated in the Heavenly King list battle, obtained the top 108 places, and had the protection of the tablet Qi, could step on the dark red step. Otherwise, there was only one way out. Looking at Lu Ming standing on the 20th step, a cold light flashed in Jiang Taishu's eyes. His body was extremely sharp. He looked at the 20th step, hesitated, but he did not step on it. At that moment, people on the other steps opened their eyes and looked up at Lu Ming. Amazing, truly amazing. Another top-notch genius. Many geniuses exclaimed. Brother Lu is indeed much stronger than me. Kenfei Ryu sighed. Qin Qingshan and Gao Chong also sighed. Qin Qingshan had been easily defeated by Lu Ming a few days ago. Initially he was unhappy, but now he was convinced. As for Gao Chong, he felt lucky. Previously, he had wanted to teach Lu Ming a lesson. Now that he thought about it, his face burned. Impossible. In the crowd below, Wang Mia, Wang Mang, and the others shouted in disbelief. "This brat, I want him dead." Murderous intent flashed in Wang Mang's eyes. "Don't worry, climbing the Heavenly King's steel doesn't mean that you are strong. Kill him in the Heavenly King list battle." Cold light flashed in Wang Mia's eyes. At that moment, Xian Yanqing, who had been sitting cross-legged on the 18th step, suddenly stood up and stepped on the 19th step in front of everyone's shocked eyes. Xian Yanqing steadily stepped onto the 19th step, standing at the same level as Jiang Taishu. Before the crowd could react, Xian Yanqing took another step forward. With this step, she stepped on the 20th step. Her body trembled slightly, but her eyes were resolute. Another person stepped on the 20th step. Moreover, it was the female companion of Lu Ming. Almost everyone thought that she was Lu Ming's girlfriend. A golden boy and a jade girl both stepped on the 20th step. Everyone was stunned and thought that they were dreaming. This was too unbelievable. Since the opening of the Heavenly King's steel, no one had stepped on the 20th step. Now, two of them had stepped on it. The coldness in Jiang Taishu's eyes intensified. "Haha, it's so lively today. Let me join in the fun." A loud laughter sounded. Everyone looked over and saw a fat man with a waist as thick as a water tank. He wore a loose white robe, and his face was chubby. He was carrying an axe on his shoulder. The shaft of the axe was 2 meters long, and the body of the axe was as big as a door. In his other hand, he was holding a greasy lamb leg. He was munching on it as he descended and stepped on the stairs of the Heavenly King's steel. Whoosh! At this moment, a beam of light flashed on the other side. A tall figure landed at the foot of the heavenly king's stele. This young man was wearing a gray robe and looked very ordinary. He was the kind of person who could be easily found in a sea of people. He descended and strode towards the stairs. The fat man and the ordinary young man climbed the stairs very quickly. They took one step at a time. Soon, they had reached the 11th step. However, they did not stop. They continued to climb up step by step. 17 steps, 18 steps, 19 steps. Everyone was dumbfounded. Where did these two geniuses come from? They were too terrifying. They had reached the 19th step in one go and were on par with Jiang Taishu. Nestle, this place is really uncomfortable. It hurts. No, I have to eat more meat to replenish my energy. The fat man shouted and gnawed on the lamb leg in his hand. Then, under everyone's gaze, he stepped onto the 20th step. The ordinary young man also stepped onto the 20th step. Shocking, shocking. Countless people were dumbfounded and tongue-tied. What was going on today? Usually, very few people could reach the 20th step, but now, so many people had appeared in one go. For people had reached the 20th step. More importantly, all 4 of them were unfamiliar faces. They were not on the list of top 1,000 talents. I can't take it anymore. I want to eat meat to replenish my energy. It hurts too much. The fat man yelled as he gnawed on the lamb leg. Surprisingly, he stood firmly on the 20th step. Lu Ming was speechless. The others were also speechless. Some people were even more indignant. It was too unfair that the fat man could reach the 20th step. That young man seems to be the rising talent of the Heavenly Corpse sect. He's called King Corpse. Chapter 739. Corpse King, what a strange name. It's said that this person has cultivated the Heavenly Corpse sect's God tier cultivation method, the 9 Nether Corpse transformation art, to an extremely powerful level. His combat strength is extremely terrifying. The 9 Nether Corpse transformation art turns one's body into a divine corpse, invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. There's nothing it can't break. It's extremely terrifying. This is a terrifying opponent. Many people were discussing. Some of the experts who are going to participate in the Heavenly King list secretly noted the Corpse King's name and tried to be as careful as possible when they met him in the future. At this time, Jiang Taishu's expression was extremely ugly. He glanced at the 4 people on the 20th step, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Then he actually turned around, walked down the steps step by step, and then soared into the air and left. Beauty, how should I address you? I'm Kong Jean. The fatty took a few bites of the lamb leg, and a pair of beady eyes turned to Xian Yinqing. Get lost. Xian Yinqing only replied with one word. Beauty, why are you so fierce? Don't you just want to talk? Don't tell me you're already taken? Sigh. Am I late again? Brother, don't tell me it's you? The fatty sighed, and then looked at Lu Ming. What? Do you want to fight with me? Lu Ming asked. Fight? What fight? I have my principles when it comes to picking up girls. First, I won't pick up girls who are already taken. I won't fight with others for a girl who is already taken. How tiring would that be? The fatty chewed on the lamb leg and then looked at Xian Yinqing and said, Beauty, do you have any brothers or sisters? No sisters? Introduce one to me. Get lost. Xian Yinqing said again. Look at you. Can't you speak properly? Brother, does your wife have a sister or sister? Introduce one to me. Kong Jean looked at Lu Ming again. Lu Ming was speechless. This fatty was really a weirdo. Did he come up here to find someone to introduce him to a girlfriend? In Lu Ming's mind, Xian Yinjuan's figure involuntarily appeared. He subconsciously said, She really does have an older sister who looks quite similar to her. What, really? Brother, you have to help me. I've already decided that I'm going to conquer this beautiful sister. Fatty's eyes lit up. Then he took another bite of the lamb leg. Xian Yinqing's eyes flashed with a ferocious light as he fiercely squeezed out 2 words. I'm going to start cultivating. Lu Ming hurriedly sat cross-legged and closed his eyes, ignoring the outside world. Xie Nianqing gritted his teeth and sat down cross-legged. The fatty quickly finished eating the lamb leg. Then he carried the axe and sat down cross-legged, beginning to cultivate. The Corpse King also began to cultivate. Before long, Lu Ming captured a trace of the concept of earth and started to comprehend it. His comprehension of the concept of earth increased by leaps and bounds. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. Lu Ming finally cultivated the concept of earth to the peak of the first level. Now he had 4 types of concepts. The concept of earth and concept of fire were both at the peak of the first level. The concept of wind and concept of thunder were both at the entry level of the second level. Lu Ming's battle strength had increased by a large margin compared to when he had just arrived. At this time, the Heaven King ranking battle had officially begun. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and everyone else cultivating on the Heaven King's steel steps went down the steps and headed north. Dozens of miles away, there was a huge plaza. The plaza was paved with some kind of black stone with complicated inscriptions carved on it. Around the plaza, there were more than 100,000 experts gathered. All of them were peak kings. Fatty Kong entered and followed Lu Ming like a shadow, constantly muttering that he wanted to introduce Xian Yinqing's sister to him. Lu Ming was now incomparably regretful, regretting the words he had blurted out earlier. Boom! Boom! In the sky, a huge and terrifying pressure could be felt. 6 figures appeared in the sky. These 6 people were definitely extremely powerful experts. It was very likely that they were all in the spirit embryo realm. 3 from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, and 3 from the Heavenly Corpse sect. Both sides would send out experts to preside over the Heaven King ranking battle. Spiritual Master, 3 corpses, let's begin. Are you going to announce it, or should I? In the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, a middle-aged man wearing a jade crown looked at the person in the middle of the 3 from the Heavenly Corpse sect. Hee, Dongfang Hao, you should do it. Spiritual Master, 3 corpses chuckled and didn't say anything else. Dongfang Hao nodded. He looked around and said, The Heavenly King ranking battle requires 2 rounds of preliminaries. Only the strongest people will be qualified to participate in the final battle. The first round of preliminaries will be held in this square. After speaking, Dongfang Hao waved his hands, and inscriptions entered the ground of the plaza. The inscriptions on the ground glowed, and in the next moment, shields appeared in the plaza. The shields were arranged in rows. In each row, there were 36 shields. There were a total of 18 rows. You should be able to see that there are 36 shields in each row. Get on the stage and attack the shields. Only those who can break through 9 of them will pass and move on to the next round. Now let's begin. Dongfang Hao announced. Let me do it. Me too. In an instant, 18 people went up to the plaza. There were a total of 18 rows. Each time, 18 people could take the test at the same time. Boom, boom. Activating their true essences, various intent realms were released. The 18 people made their moves one after another. The shields shattered one by one. Break. Lu Ming saw a burly man punching out with both fists. Fiery fist auras were blasted out, and the shields kept shattering. However, the moment the shield shattered, they seemed to produce a powerful force that struck back at him. The further one went, the harder it was for the shields to shatter. Furthermore, the force of the counterattack was also stronger. Bam! Bam! The burly man's figure kept retreating. In the end, he roared and punched with all his might, shattering the 9th shield. However, at the same time, his body also retreated rapidly and spat out a mouthful of blood. Shattering 9 shields, you pass. You, shattering 6 shields, fail, eliminated. Dongfang Hao began to announce. Out of the 18 people who went up, only 6 of them managed to shatter 9 shields. Those who passed, the success rate was only 1/3. The person with the highest score managed to shatter 11 shields. Next group. Dongfeng Hao announced. Immediately, another 18 people flew up into the sky, and the shattered shields were reformed. That's Jiang Taishu. Jiang Taishu went up. Among the 18 people, one person attracted everyone's attention. Jiang Taishu, the genius of the Jiang family, one of the 6 ancient families. He was ranked 6th in the previous 10 heavenly kings. Now, the top 4 of the 10 heavenly kings had all stepped into the sea of Soul Realm. Jiang Taishu was the most likely candidate to compete for the strongest king title this time. Jiang Taishu was as still as a mountain. His body emitted a terrifying sharpness that was incomparably sharp, as if it could cut through everything. Chapter 740. Break. Jiang Taishu whispered. His palm was like a sword as he slashed forward. Boom! Boom! In an instant, 9 shields exploded, but that was not all. The 10th, 11th, and 12th shields exploded. In the blink of an eye, 18 shields exploded. Break again! Jiang Taishu shouted. His aura became even sharper as he slashed out again. This time, the crowd seemed to see a saber slashing forward. Bang! Bang! One shield after another exploded. The powerful astral wind and qi were sent flying back. However, Jiang Taishu did not move at all. He continued to attack, shattering everything. In the end, a total of 28 shields were shattered. Jiang Taishu shattered 28 of the 36 shields, which was an amazing result. No one at the King Realm had ever been able to shatter all 36 shields. In this round of 18 people, other than Jiang Taishu, the strongest person had only managed to break 12 shields. The gap was too big. Following that, 18 people took turns in a row. 18 people took turns in a row, and more people went up. But the success rate was only about 1/3. Many people who failed shook their heads and sighed. They were not fated to be on the Heavenly King list this time. Gao Chong was ranked last on the list of top 1,000 talents. As he had lost an arm, his combat power was reduced, and he only managed to shatter 12 shields. Qin Qingshan had shattered 16 pieces. Wang Mang shattered 20 shields. Wang Ye was very strong. He shattered 24 shields, which was only 4 shields away from Jiang Taishu. But the further one went, the harder the shields became. It was too difficult to shatter them. One shield was a big gap. A day later, more than half of the hundreds of thousands of people had taken turns. Among them, there were a few amazing experts who attracted Lu Ming's attention. Like Jiang Taishu, all of them had shattered 28 shields. Lu Ming knew from the others that these people were either geniuses from the 6 ancient families or experts from the Heavenly Corpse sect. They were also geniuses in the previous 10 heavenly kings. There were 5 of them in the previous 10 heavenly kings, including Jiang Taishu. There was no doubt that these 5 people were absolutely extraordinarily terrifying. They were the 10 heavenly kings during the last competition, and then they'd stayed at the peak of the king realm for 3 years. So, how terrifying would their combat strengths be? It wasn't that these people couldn't break through to the spiritual sea realm. They could do so at any time. They just wanted to accumulate more and be stronger. Once they broke through to the spiritual sea realm, there was no doubt that their cultivation would improve rapidly and reach a new height in a short time. Of course, the others did not break so many pieces, but it did not mean that there were no masters who could compete with Jiang Taishu and the others. It was normal for some people to hide their strength. Anyway, as long as they broke 9 pieces, they could pass. The 28 pieces that Jiang Taishu and the others had shattered might not be their limit. Lu Ming and the others were at the back of the queue. It was only their turn the next day. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kenfei Ryu, and Fatty Kong Jin stepped onto the square together. Everyone's eyes turned to look at them, especially Fatty Kong Jin, Xian Yanqing, and Lu Ming, because the 3 of them had reached the 20th step. Boom! Lu Ming was very straightforward. He punched out. A ray of fist radiance shot out and hit the shields. The shields shattered one by one. Sure enough, the further the shields went, the harder they became and the harder they were to break. Every time a shield shattered, a strong force would hit back at Lu Ming. With a single punch, the 9 shields exploded. That's enough. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not continue attacking. He looked to the side and found that Xian Yinqing had also shattered 9 pieces and stopped. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Anyway, 9 pieces were enough to pass. What was the point of shattering so many? The rest of the people present were speechless. Originally, they wanted to see Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing's attack power. Unexpectedly, the two of them stopped after smashing 9 pieces. This made many people feel depressed. Obviously, the two of them did not use their full strength. They just wanted to pass. Of course, there were people who disagreed. Maybe their attacking power is not high and they dare not use their full strength. That's why they shattered 9 shields. They are deliberately mystifying and attracting attention. Someone snorted and did not think highly of Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. At this time there was a commotion. Lu Ming turned his head and saw Fatty Kongjin, who was triumphant. In front of him, 28 pieces were shattered. No wonder everyone was so surprised. To be able to shatter 28 shields, his attacking power was comparable to Jiang Taishu and the others. Who's this fatty? I've never seen him before. Where did this peerless genius come from? I've never seen him before either. Maybe he's a disciple secretly taken in by a peerless powerhouse? There are too many geniuses now. Fatty Kongjin looked around with a big axe on his shoulder. He grinned and looked very pleased with himself. Soon, this group of people was finished, and the next group of people was replaced. Corpse King. In this group, the Corpse King went up. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the Corpse King. The Corpse King was also a person who stepped on the 20th step. Boom! The Corpse King was very straightforward. He directly punched out. The terrifying fist force shattered the shields in front of him one by one. After a few punches, 28 shields were shattered. At this time he suddenly stopped. This guy's strength is not bad. I feel that he didn't use his full strength. Interesting. Fatty Kongjin stood beside Lu Ming and stared at the Corpse King with sparkling eyes. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. The next moment, a leg of an unknown beast appeared in his hand, and he began to gnaw on it. Lu Ming was speechless and did not bother to pay attention to him. As time passed, people went up and down in batches. After a day, all the tests were over. A total of 120,000 people participated in the test, and only about 40,000 passed. It was obvious how difficult it was. One had to know that those who could come here were all peak-level kings. Many of them had good battle strength among peak-level kings. Many of them were old fellows who had cultivated for hundreds of years. All right, the first round of the test is over. Those who pass the first round will go with us to the other Heavenly King Steel. Dongfang Hao announced. Then Taoist Master 3 Corpses and the rest of the Heavenly Corpse sect flew towards the north. Lu Ming and the rest followed. There were a total of 2 Heavenly King Steels. They had seen one of them before. The other one was the place where the final battle of the Heavenly King rankings took place. In front of them was an abyss that was 10 miles wide. On the other side, there was a huge stone stele that stood there. It was 1,000 meters tall and a few hundred meters wide. It was simple and unadorned. This was the second Heavenly King Stele. Under this abyss, there is a peerless killing formation. If you fall, you will die without a doubt. The entire abyss is filled with astral winds, making it extremely difficult to fly. The final battle will be inside the Heavenly King Stele. The stele is a world of its own. Later, the Heavenly King Stele will shine. At that time, you can rush in. However, the Heavenly King Stele's light will only last for half an hour. You need to fly over this abyss and rush into the Heavenly King Stele. Those who fail to do so will be eliminated. Chapter 741. As soon as he said that, many people's eyes flickered and some of them looked serious. This should be the final test. Although it looked simple, it was extremely dangerous. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they had to cross 10 miles of the abyss. The key was that there were more than 40,000 people, and it was too crowded. Everyone had to charge forward bravely to reach the Sky King's monument. Therefore, in this process, there was bound to be a fierce battle. They had to fight for the front to have a chance to reach the Sky King's monument. Just like that, everyone waited. This wait lasted for half a day. Buzz! Suddenly, the Sky King's monument shook and shone with a bright light. Begin! Dongfang Hao announced. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as Dongfang Hao's voice fell, countless figures rose into the air and flew towards the Sky King's monument. Let's go! Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Kenfei Ryu, and the others also rose into the air and flew forward. Whoosh whoosh! As soon as they flew above the abyss, a strong wind blew in the abyss. The wind was extremely sharp, and it was like a sharp knife slashing towards a crowd. Not good. Some people's faces changed, and they were caught off guard. They were almost seriously injured and fell into the abyss. They quickly used their true origin to resist. Lu Ming and the others also used their true origin to block the surrounding wind. However, their speed was undoubtedly much slower. The abyss that could be crossed in the blink of an eye would take a lot more time. Swoosh! Swoosh! Everyone stabilized their bodies and broke through the wind, moving forward quickly. Get lost! Don't block the way! Someone roared and attacked the people in front. You're courting death! The people in front roared, and a great battle broke out. Get lost! Get out of the way! Loud roars rose and fell. Everyone wanted to be in the front. Only then would they have the confidence to reach the Sky King's monument in the time it took for an incense stick to burn. Above the abyss, a dazzling light burst out. Ah! Someone screamed and fell into the abyss. Suddenly, a sword light flashed in the abyss, and that person was cut in half. His corpse fell into the abyss. There was a supreme killing array below, and those who fell would die. Die, brat! Suddenly, a cold killing intent surged towards Lu Ming's group. At the same time, numerous attacks enveloped Lu Ming's group. Wang Ya, Wang Mang, you're courting death! Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. The ones who had attacked them were Wang Ya, Wang Mang, and some other elders. These elders were all extremely powerful. They were clearly the experts of the Wang family. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming and the others erupted with power, blocking the attacks from all sides. Motherfucker! How dare you sneak attack me? You're courting death! Fatty Kong Jean roared and swung his axe, destroying everything in its path. 5 elders were enveloped by the fatty's axe. Xian Yinqing waved her jade-white hand and enveloped the 5 old men. As for Kenfei Ryu, he was facing the 2 elders alone. You two, stay here. Lu Ming knocked back the 2 elders with a punch and charged towards Wang Mia and Wang Mang. Their expressions changed drastically. They had sent out more than 10 experts of the Wang family, but they were all held back by Xian Yinqing's group. This was beyond their expectations. Humph! Brat, this abyss will be your burial ground. Let's attack together and kill him. Wang Mia snorted coldly. His murderous intent was sharp. Together with Wang Mang, he charged toward Lu Ming. In addition, the other 2 elders also charged towards Lu Ming. Die! The infinite dragon spear appeared, and a spear light shot out. It contained the 2nd level wind concept and the 2nd level thunder concept. It was too fast and too terrifying. Puff! Puff! 2 large holes appeared in the chests of the 2 elders. They were pierced by Lu Ming's spear light and fell into the abyss with miserable screams. Boom! Lu Ming's spear swept out horizontally. Wang Mia and Wang Mang trembled and retreated quickly. Wang Mia was fine, but fear flashed in Wang Mang's eyes. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The bones in one of his arms were completely shattered. How can he be so strong? It's best to leave. Wang Mia turned and left without thinking. Not good. Wang Mang was alarmed when he saw Wang Mia turn and run. It was too late for him to leave. Lu Ming stepped forward and stabbed out with his spear. The spear light was extremely resplendent. No, Wang Mang roared and tried his best to block. However, Lu Ming's strength had improved greatly and reached a terrifying level. Wang Mang couldn't stop him at all. Puchi! The spear pierced through Wang Mang's chest. With a tremor, Wang Mang's corpse fell into the abyss. Lu Ming, you dare to kill my Wang family's genius? You're dead. Wang Mia roared in front, but he didn't dare to stay. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong. He realized that he wasn't Lu Ming's match at all. If he stayed, only death would await him. I'll definitely kill you in the Sky King's steel. Lu Ming shouted coldly. At this time, the old men who besieged Xianyanqing and the others were either dead or running away. They suffered heavy losses. On the side, the others were shocked when they saw Lu Ming and the others' terrifying combat strength. They didn't dare to attack them at all. The four of them worked together and rushed forward. The people in front of them were directly sent flying. Lu Ming looked around and found that Jiang Taishu, the Corpse King, and some of the strongest people had already rushed to the front. Those who blocked them were all killed in one move. In the end, they rushed into the Sky King's steel and disappeared. After a little more than half an incense stick's time, Lu Ming and the others also rushed into the Sky King's steel and disappeared. Soon, half an incense stick's time passed. The light on the Sky King's steel disappeared. Those who rushed there couldn't enter the Sky King's steel anymore. They could only sigh outside and fly back to the other side of the abyss. They had lost their chance. At least a few thousand people fell into the abyss, and about 10,000 people rushed into the Sky King's steel. The others stayed outside, including those who were eliminated in the first round. There were more than 100,000 people gathered at the edge of the abyss. Let's see what's going on inside, Dongfang Hao said. Then he joined forces with Spiritual Master, 3 corpses. Rays of light entered the Sky King's steel. In the next moment, an image appeared on the Sky King's steel. That's Jiang Taishu. In the image, Jiang Taishu was flying rapidly in the sky above an empty land. At this time, Dongfang Hao waved his hand and the image changed into another image. A young man in a red robe killed an old man with a punch. Above his and the old man's heads, there was a phantom of a steel. There were 3 chi in the steel. At this time, the chi of the steel above the old man's head flew to the red-robed young man. The steel above the red-robed young man's head turned into 6 chi. That's Wang Ju, the genius of the Wang family. He was ranked 8th in the previous Sky King steel. Many people recognized the young man. At this time, Dongfang Hao waved his hand again, and the image changed again. The Sky King steel could actually show the image inside. Chapter 742. Everyone who entered would have a Sky King's tablet image appear above their heads and 3 streams of chi, known as tablet chi. As long as they killed or defeated others, they would be able to snatch their opponent's tablet chi. Once all 3 streams of tablet chi were snatched away, they would be transported out. The final ranking was determined by the amount of tablet chi they had. In the Heavenly King Monument World, there was only a total of 3 days. In other words, within these 3 days, one had to obtain as much monument chi as possible. After the 3 days were up, the person with the most monument chi would be ranked first on the Heavenly King ranking. As for the 108 people with the most monument chi, they would be the final 108 people. Therefore, these 3 days were destined to be cruel. There would be endless battles. If they found a place to hide, they wouldn't be able to get the final spot. Xianyanqing, Kenfei Ryu, and the others weren't nearby. It was obvious that they had been randomly scattered to different places when they entered. I heard that you can't use the inscription Dao in the Sky King's tablet world. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming waved his hands and started to inscribe inscriptions on the ground. Inscriptions flew into the ground one by one. However, in the next moment, the inscriptions dissipated and couldn't stick to the ground. Next, Lu Ming tried to inscribe inscriptions on himself. However, the result was the same. He couldn't stop the inscriptions, and they dissipated. Indeed, in here, one can only rely on one's martial cultivation and not the inscription Dao. Lu Ming pondered. "I'll let me out for some fresh air." Dandan had climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder again. Previously, Lu Ming had stuffed him into the Temple of Paragon. "Dandan, you'd better return to the Temple of Paragon. This place is extremely mysterious. I'm afraid there are important people watching. Don't blame me if they catch you and cook you." Lu Ming stuffed the unwilling Dandan back into the Temple of Paragon. Afterward, Lu Ming randomly chose a direction, soared into the air, and flew into the distance. "Hand over your monument, Qi." Not long after, Lu Ming ran into an old man. Unexpectedly, when the old man saw Lu Ming, he turned and ran. Lu Ming chased after him. With Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, how fast was his speed? In just a few moments, Zhang Xian caught up to the old man, and with a punch, the old man spurted a mouthful of blood. "I'll give you all my monument, Qi. Don't kill me." The old man cried out in fear. He sighed inwardly at his bad luck. He didn't expect to run into a monster like Lu Ming as soon as he entered. The old man stopped and no longer resisted. He knew that if Lu Ming wanted to kill him, he would not be able to resist. Lu Ming strode forward and shattered the Sky King's monument's shadow above the elder's head with a single palm strike. The 3 strands of monument Qi above the elder's head all flew into Lu Ming's Sky King's monument's shadow. At this moment, a beam of light enveloped the old man. In the next moment, the old man's figure disappeared and appeared outside. After Lu Ming obtained the 3 steel Qi, he continued flying in search of his next prey. With only 3 days left, he had to make the best use of his time. In the next 3 hours, Lu Ming encountered 7 people consecutively. One of them resisted with all his might and was killed by Lu Ming. The other 6 surrendered and obediently gave up their monument Qi. Lu Ming's monument Qi increased to 27 strands. Outside, the crowd stared at the Sky King's monument. The images on it were constantly changing. "Looks like the strongest group of people this time must be the young ones. No matter how long the older generation has cultivated, their talents are still limited. It's hard for them to compete with the peerless geniuses." That's right. This time, there are even more geniuses. Not only the top 10, but the top 20 will also be taken by the young geniuses. As you can see, Jiang Taishu, Wang Zhu the Zombie King, and the others are almost invincible. Hey, look, that's Lu Ming. In front of him are the 2 old fogies from the Sky Corp sect. At this moment, the image suddenly flashed and Lu Ming's figure appeared. At this moment, Lu Ming was flying forward. On a mountain peak, not far away from him, 2 old men were hiding. Their bodies were emitting a cold aura. The 2 old fogies from the Sky Corp sect are extremely powerful. They are the most likely candidates to fight for the top 108. This is interesting. Lu Ming is going to be ambushed. Many people widened their eyes and looked at the image on the Sky King's monument. Dongfang Hao did not change the image. He seemed to be interested too. Lu Ming naturally did not know that there were 2 experts waiting for him in front. He was flying forward at an extremely fast speed. Suddenly, 2 black shadows flashed rapidly. 2 sharp beams of light slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Spear light condensed and swept towards the 2 black figures. With a loud bang, Lu Ming's figure shook slightly. The 2 figures also retreated. Refined corpses. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that it was 2 refined corpses that attacked him. The 2 refined corpses were majestic and tall. They wore black armor and held 2 black battle swords in their hands. A blood-red light flashed in their eyes. Hee, it's that kid called Lu Ming, the genius who stepped on the 20th step of the Sky King's monument. With a faint sneer, Two figures in black robes appeared beside the two refined corpses. They were two old men. They were so thin that only bones were left. They looked like two skeletons and were extremely eerie. The difference was that one of them was emitting a strong corpse aura while the other was emitting a ghostly aura. Hee, such a genius has endless potential. We must kill him now. Otherwise, he will be a great disaster for the Sky Corps sect in the future. The old man with ghostly aura sneered. Just you two old fogies? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Kid, your battle strength is not bad. I'm afraid that any one of us is no match for you. However, with the two of us working together, do you think you have a chance? The old man with ghostly aura grinned. In the next moment, a huge shrub appeared under his feet. The coffin opened and a dozen refined corpses flew out. Each of the refined corpses wore black armor and held black battle swords. Their auras were extremely powerful. Although these refined corpses were only peak kings, they were extremely powerful. They were much stronger than ordinary peak kings. This could be seen from the two refined corpses that had ambushed them. However, this old man could control so many refined corpses of peak kings. It was terrifying. Attack! The old man with ghostly aura roared. The dozen refined corpses roared and pounced at Lu Ming. At the same time, the old man with ghostly aura also moved. He punched out, and a ghostly howl filled the air. A black fist light flew towards Lu Ming. Strong. These two old men were very strong. They were the kind of old monsters that had cultivated for hundreds of years. I'll kill you first. With a sweep of his spear, 3 refined corpses were sent flying. At the same time, he punched out with his left hand to cancel out the ghostly old man's fist light. Then he strode towards the old man with ghostly aura. Want to kill me? Die. The old man with ghostly aura revealed a cold smile. He controlled the remaining refined corpses to surround Lu Ming. I can't be bothered to waste my time with you. Lu Ming put away the infinite dragon spear and used the exploding star fist. In an instant, he threw out hundreds of punches. Each fist light was infused with the 3 intents of wind, fire, and lightning, especially the 2 intents of wind and lightning, which had reached the 2nd level. Its power was terrifying. Chapter 743. Pum, pum. Dense bursting sounds rang out as more than a dozen refined corpses exploded. Lu Ming strode towards the old man. How could this be? The old man was shocked. More than a dozen indestructible refined corpses were all blown up by Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming's attack power be so terrifying? His heart trembled. Not good, retreat. The old man roared in his heart. He wanted to escape, but it was obviously too late. The bursting fist radiance instantly drowned him. In the next moment, 3 strands of steel chi flew into Lu Ming's Heavenly King Steel Phantom. On the other side, the ghostly old man was almost scared out of his wits and fled frantically. A spear radiance pierced through the void and nailed him in the air. Outside, many people gasped when they saw the scene on the Heavenly King Steel. This Lu Ming is too terrifying. 2 extremely powerful old monsters of the Heavenly Corpse sect were actually killed by him. The gap is too big. It's a complete crush. In my opinion, Lu Ming's combat strength has reached the peak level. He's not much different from Jiang Taishu, Wang Ju, and the others. He can even contend with them. Terrifying, really terrifying. Obviously, Lu Ming's combat strength shocked everyone. At this moment, Dongfeng Hao waved his hand and the scene changed again. Next, as time passed, they would see strong battles from time to time. Some experts, who were originally favored and had hopes of rushing into the top 108, also clashed. Some died in battle. Some were seriously injured and fled. The most eye-catching ones were some young geniuses. Jiang Taishu, Wang Ju, and the others who were the top 10 heavenly kings in the previous competition. Needless to say, their combat strength was well known. In addition, Xian Yanqing, Fatty Kong Jin, King Corpse, and other rising geniuses were also incomparably powerful. There were experts who died in their hands one after another, including Lu Ming. There was no doubt that this time the top 10 would be born from these people. In a flash, half a day had passed. Lu Ming's gains were also increasing. His Heavenly King Steel Phantom already had 150 strands of steel qi. Look! Jiang Taishu and Lu Ming are getting closer and closer. It won't be long before they meet. Someone suddenly shouted from outside. Dongfang, Hao, and the Reverend Three Corpses seemed to want the crowd to see more clearly. They switched the images of Lu Ming and Jiang Taishu. The crowd could see that the two were flying towards each other. They seemed to be getting closer and closer. It wouldn't be long before they met. Everyone's heartbeat quickened. Could it be that these two geniuses were going to meet so soon? Everyone was looking forward to seeing what would happen when the two of them met. Lu Ming quickly flew forward in search of prey. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed as a figure appeared in front of him. Jiang Taishu! Jiang Taishu strolled through the void and also discovered Lu Ming. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as a powerful aura bloomed from his body. Lu Ming, it's your bad luck to meet me. If you let me take your steel qi, you might still have a chance to live. Jiang Taishu stood in front of Lu Ming and said flatly, Is that so? I want your steel qi too. Lu Ming licked his lips. There were definitely more than 200 strands of steel qi in Jiang Taishu's Heavenly King's Steel Phantom. Lu Ming was very tempted. Haha, you want my steel qi? You really don't know your place. Let me tell you, the higher you climb on the Heavenly King's steel, the stronger your combat strength will be. Fine, I'll kill you today and let the world know what a real genius is. Jiang Taishu's eyes were filled with strong killing intent. The sharpness on his body was even stronger. He was like a peerless divine weapon that could cut through everything. Previously, on the Heavenly King's steel steps, Jiang Taishu had warned Lu Ming not to step on the 20th step. However, Lu Ming had ignored him. Who was Jiang Taishu? He was actually ignored by Lu Ming. At that moment, he wanted to kill Lu Ming. Now that they had met, how could he let Lu Ming go? It's said that the Jiang family cultivates a god-level cultivation technique, the immemorial mystical weapon art. I'd like to see it for myself. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with strong fighting intent. Jiang Taishu represented one of the strongest kings. He was very curious about what level he was at now. The battle is about to start. Outside, the crowd was also very excited as they stared at the screen above. Lu Ming and Jiang Taishu had indeed met. Judging from the situation, the battle was about to start. They were looking forward to this peak battle. Who do you think will win the battle between Lu Ming and Jiang Taishu? In my opinion, it will most likely be Jiang Taishu. After all, Jiang Taishu is a veteran expert. 3 years ago, he was already extremely terrifying. In the past 3 years, he must have become even more terrifying and stronger. His goal is to become the first on the Heavenly King's steel. That's right. Although Lu Ming is a peerless genius with terrifying talent and potential, his foundation is still lacking. He can't possibly be Jiang Taishu's opponent. Now, we'll see how many moves he can take from Jiang Taishu and whether he will be killed. The crowd was discussing intensely. In the heavenly steel world, clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard from Jiang Taishu's body. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body, as if it could tear everything apart. You'll see, but the price is death. Jiang Taishu stepped out and slashed his palm towards Lu Ming. In Lu Ming's eyes, this palm was like a heavenly blade that could split everything apart. True Yuan erupted as Lu Ming punched out. Berserk true essence gathered in this fist and burst out. Lu Ming's fist collided with Jiang Taishu's palm. A dull roar resounded between heaven and earth. Both of their bodies trembled and retreated. Jiang Taishu, fight with me. Don't try to test me. Go all out. Lu Ming said with bright eyes. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Clang, clang. At this moment, as if thousands of weapons were clashing, Jiang Taishu's aura became sharper and more terrifying. The shattering essence. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The essence that Jiang Taishu had comprehended was the shattering essence, an extremely terrifying essence. It was similar to Xian Yanqing's destruction essence, which was inclined towards attacking. Its destructive power was extremely terrifying and could shatter everything. Moreover, Jiang Taishu had cultivated the shattering essence to an extremely terrifying level, level 2 lower tier. Yes, Jiang Taishu's shattering essence had reached level 2 lower tier. Coupled with the immemorial mystical armament that Jiang Taishu cultivated, the combination was absolutely terrifying. Kill! Jiang Taishu shouted as he stepped forward. His arm was like a sword as it slashed towards Lu Ming. The wind and thunder essences burst out as the battle dragon true Yuan circulated rapidly. Lu Ming punched out again. Boom! A terrifying vibration resounded as the ground was bombarded by a terrifying force. Huge craters appeared one after another. The two figures trembled for a moment before stabilizing themselves. That Lu Ming is so strong. He can actually block Jiang Taishu. The spectators outside were shocked.